All right. Well, first off, thank you, both of you, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. To give a backstory kind of behind for the people listening and watching, came across your story, I want to say on the Kansas City Star.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's probably the first place that I seen your story. That led me down a road. I met Andrea. I met her. I had her on the show. Ended up reaching out to you afterwards as well. We talked about a little bit of your case on the show as well. Yeah. And she literally opened up a world like I didn't even know. I didn't know how bad this was. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know how many people were having to go through this, going for simple, like child being sick or, child, roughhousing, playing around. And then all of a sudden you're being accused as the parent that's beating them or abusing them. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand the whole process behind all that. And now that I'm starting to kind of see into this world and see some of the people that are affected by it, I mean, I put myself in your guys' shoes and couldn't even imagine. I have 2 kids of my own, and I get scared of what lengths I would go to if I was put in that position. And it's almost as if like, I can say that now, but when you're in the position, it's like you're stuck between if I do something, then I'm going to pay a price. But if I don't do something, I'm still going to pay a price. And it's like, which price is worth it? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, and the scary thing is too, it's like, how long is this going to be for? I mean, you guys didn't know, you know what I mean? Did they explain that at all to you?
We got no explanations whatsoever.
Really?
That was part of the problem with the whole thing. And that's why Sarah's done so much as she has to make sure that there is a due process and a better understanding of what's going on, what's going to happen when you're put in that situation, because we got nothing explained whatsoever.
Yeah. Just everything was pretty vague and just on their time.
I mean, not even vague. It was, you were just completely left out of the loop.
Really?
I think it was intentionally you're left in the dark, especially in the initial process. It feels like, well, do we want to go into the story first or?
No, yeah, we can.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
no
because some of
all.
this feeds into that. I feel like when you're in the hospital and you hear, we found fractures in your child, we've hotlined you for abuse. You're freaking out because it's like, what? And we had a nanny at the time. So both of us are probably ready to come out of our skin because we think this person that we've hired has been hurting we believe them. We thought she was hurting our son. And we complied with everything because we had nothing to hide.
Right.
So it was like, what do you need? You want us to talk to the ECF? Okay, we'll do it. You want us to talk to the cops? Okay, we'll do it. You want us to have our son admitted so you can run him through every test? Please, where do we sign? Because we wanted to get the answers too.
Right.
Yeah. And what we found throughout the process and even still are finding out is how much of that was, we weren't told a lot because they knew, I think if we knew our rights, we probably would have left and hired a lawyer immediately and would have made their job a lot harder.
So then let's do that. Let's start from the beginning. Let's start before all this happened.
Yeah.
And kind of, if you could just help me as well as the people who are watching as well, how this led up to where you guys ended at the hospital and then what happened afterwards and kind of where we're at to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the easiest place to start, and please you jump in if you feel differently, but our son, Finnick, I have a daughter. She's 10 now.
Okay.
From previously before I met my husband. But we had a son, Finn, in July of 2024. And he was a big old baby, super healthy. I mean, 9 pounds, just whopper.
He was always going to be big. I was 11 pounds when I was born. I was huge.
Yeah, I think I was like 10 and a half.
Right. So I knew he was going to be big.
Anyway, sorry to all the mothers in this situation.
Right? They're telling me while I'm in labor, this is going to be a 12-pound baby. I'm like, oh, epidural.
I know, my mom reminds me to this day. She's like, you do know you're almost 11 pounds.
Yes, but he was healthy. I mean, he was big and healthy, and we went home, and we had no issues. I mean, he was the most, and still is, mild-mannered, never upset unless he was hungry. Only time he was upset, we got pretty quickly into a good resting, napping, sleeping routine where we'd get a couple hours. No parent with a newborn gets a ton of sleep, but we were getting there. And around in October of 2024, we had found our rhythm. Finn was getting up every night around midnight to eat. And like clockwork, he got up on the 2nd of October to eat, was crying hungry, and Boxy went to go make him a bottle because I would pump so he could help at night to feed. And when we tried to give him the bottle, he wouldn't take it. He tried, but it was making him upset, and he would move his head back and forth, and that was pissing him off even more because he couldn't get the food. And we did that from midnight until 3 a.m. trying to do it. And finally he got so upset, he passed out on my chest, just fell asleep. And then not even 45 minutes later, he was up again, screaming mad because he was hungry, and he was getting a lot of air when he was trying to swallow. So I put him on my shoulder to get a burp, and we get a huge burp that's got an emesis or a big throw up, and you can hear the splat on the ground. And I was like, oh gosh, that was huge. And I went to take him into his room to clean him up. And I noticed there was a burnt red tinge in his mucus, like in the mucus, the bile. And I freaked out. I will admittedly say I don't do the best in a hectic situation like that. And when your child is going through something like this, I just assumed the worst was going on.
Right.
And I woke Sawyer up and I was like, we're going to the ER. And we live right down the street from a St. Luke's ER. So we put everyone in the car and went at like 3 a.m. Well, it was between 3 and 4, right?
Yeah, this would have been around 4:30 or something, yeah.
And, rushed in, crying mess, told them the story. It's a tiny neighborhood ER, so all they can do is like, well, we can give your baby a chest x-ray, but we're not professional. Like, we're not pediatrically trained.
Right.
And so we're like, okay. So they did vitals. They did a chest x-ray. They sat us down and said, you're good. We can't see anything. There's clearly gas in his belly, in his bowel, and that's probably making him really upset.
Right.
But we can't tell you that there's anything wrong. If you want, you can go to Children's Mercy because they are the children's hospital. But by that time, we have such a great pediatrician, and she's a direct primary care. So you don't have to pay insurance. And she's essentially like, if anytime we text her, she texts back as long as it's not.
Oh, that's nice.
And sometimes she probably would text back in the middle of the night.
I mean, she did.
It's like direct access.
4 a.m. and she was texting us back.
Really?
Every second we were texting her, and she was straight back.
And
she must have been literally sat there at the phone just ready for us and waiting to give us the best advice as we could.
Yeah. And she called me and she was kind of laughing. She's like, Sarah, you didn't need to give him an x-ray. I mean, honestly, what you're describing to me, it sounds like he probably has a viral infection, some kind of cold. He's not drinking. I bet he has a sore throat. Put him in a steamy room. All the things you do to little babies. Maybe give him a little bit of Tylenol, because if he has a sore throat, that's keeping him from drinking. That would probably help.
Do they think that's, I'm guessing this was blood in his mucus. Is that what that is? Or?
Well, yeah, I think it was dry, like old blood.
Yeah. So do they think the irritation from the throat was a possibility?
Well, they didn't even weigh in on that.
Really?
They didn't know. And that's why I think they said, we can't tell you anything's wrong, because based on what they could see at the St. Luke's, there were his vitals were great. There were no warning signs. There was nothing in his imaging.
Right.
And so she was kind of laughing too and saying, go home, do all these things. Your kid has a cold. And we did. We went home, tried the steamy room.
Did the steamy shower, and nothing was working. He was just really upset constantly. So then we tried the Tylenol. And then I think because of the viscosity, I guess you would call it, of the Tylenol, he ended up choking. And his face went bright red. And this was, maybe 3 to 5 seconds, but it felt like a lifetime, obviously, when you see a newborn pretty much going red in the face and choking. And at that point, I think that's where you were just like, okay, we're going to Children's Mercy.
Right.
Well, I called the doctor. I called our pediatrician back and I told her what happened. And she, typically her process is, because they're not contracted with a hospital, to send someone to like a diagnostic imaging center. But she said they're going to send you to Children's Mercy because he was 2 months old at the time. Right. And so she was like, just go ask for a scope, because if maybe there's something in his throat that's actually hurting him, and we need to see what that is. But she didn't have a scope at her office. So we're like, all right, say no more. And by this time, my mom was also helping us out. She met us at the ER. She's very involved with everything. So she met us at the ER, and she helped get Sawyer ready for school. Sawyer wanted to go to school. She wanted to try to have as normal of a day as possible. And so as soon as she was out the door, we left, drove straight to Children's Mercy. Got in, gave him our story. They put him through triage. And at that point, he did have an elevated temp. I think it was 100, maybe a little higher than 100. And then put us in a room. Immediately, I think it felt odd just because it was a room that was something like I had never been in any kind of hospital, where it was all glass, like an observatory. And
usually the rooms are private.
Right.
Yeah.
It looked much more like one of those, what do you call it? A triage, like a learning room, I guess you could say, where doctors can see through the glass, and obviously it's one of those. Then it's one of those major triage rooms where you've got plenty of space around a big bed.
Yeah.
It was
intimidating,
something felt
scary
off straight away, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
And they send a resident, because it's a training hospital, right? And so they send a resident in with a nurse, and we walk them through everything, our whole story, how we got there. And I said, I want a scope. I want a CT scan. I want every image so you can tell me what's going on in here. And we didn't have insurance. So we knew this was going to be hit us hard. But we didn't care. And so he left, and they got prepared to do what we thought, I guess, was the first imaging to see what was going on. And we got to go with him back to do this. And that was hard too. Gosh, putting your little 2-month-old baby into imaging. He did pretty well, but we were scared. And so we sat in the room. I swear it felt like a lifetime after that. The imaging was done.
It literally was. Hours we were just sat there.
Yeah, it was awful. And he came back in, the resident, and he said, I will be right back. I have to go get my advisor, essentially, or I don't know what it's called. I don't know all the medical terminology, but his boss that was training him. I have to go get her because she needs to be involved in this. And so I think immediately I was like, oh no, what is going on? And then a team, there was like four of them.
4 or 5 of them,
yeah. Come in.
Social workers, nurses.
Come up to the mic a little bit.
I don't even think the social worker was in there yet. It was just like nurses and residents and doctors.
So then what was that lady then that was there? She was just
a trainee? She came in too. Oh, the resident was just a trainee. He's like a doctor in training.
But he was or is it he or she?
He.
So he was the one that said he had to go get.
Yeah.
So did he see something or what?
Well, yes, I guess they all saw something because they came in as the group.
Gotcha.
And his boss, she's like, we need to have a difficult conversation. And I think both of us thought they were going to tell us our son had cancer or, we're just...
Something like that,
like a horrible health.
We just left for hours ruminating, wondering what was going on. And then when they come in and say something like that, that's exactly where our minds go.
Right.
Not to the extent of what they then laid on us.
So then they said, we found multiple fractures in your son's body at various stages of healing, and we have to hotline you for abuse. And I think even when they said that, both of us, it didn't click that they were saying that they thought we abused our son. We had hired the nanny, and I think we both were like, we believed him, and it was just like, oh, this woman, we have a nanny. I think both of us were like, it's the nanny, like, what has she done?
Right.
And immediately, that's what we're thinking. And I think I broke down. I was crying when you hear that your son has multiple fractures in his body, and you think he's been being abused. It was terrible, but they said, we have to get DCF involved. We have to get the police involved. And that's when we were like, okay, let's do it. Please.
So they weren't accusing, they were just saying that there's signs of abuse here. They weren't necessarily saying it was you on that first initial, when they first came in.
Outwardly, maybe they did not say you abused your son. I think looking back now, they had made up their mind that we had abused our son.
Gotcha.
In that moment, yes, absolutely. And
There
they
was
weren't
no
going to say
other.
anything about it.
Yeah.
And then the longer, the days went on afterwards, it definitely started to feel more and more that way.
Well, even immediately, I think it tainted the way we were treated the entire time we were in the hospital. They told us from then on we had to be put on one-on-one supervision. We could not be alone with our son. They started collecting my breast milk that I was pumping. They didn't tell me why. They said they just had to collect it. And I know now it's because they were testing it for drugs.
Oh, gotcha.
And then, it's like we have to put him through all the tests. And part of me is like, well, okay. I mean, we asked for the test anyway. But if it wasn't abuse, then it was good that we were doing the test because I wanted to know what was happening, what's going on underneath the surface that would cause him to have that many fractures.
So is that what it was? It was fractures at
well, I'll get to that. And so again, I mean, we were just catapulted into tests and images and questioning. The social worker from the hospital came in.
Right.
We were questioned 100 different ways by 100 different people. Our story was the same every single time. They ended up saying, we have to question your daughter at Sunflower House, which in Kansas is like a child advocacy center for children who are abused. They questioned my mom. They questioned my dad because he lives in Springfield, but he came in for this. And they admitted us to the hospital. So they wheeled us up to the child abuse floor, I guess, and put a babysitter on us one-on-one who immediately, like if I held my son too long, they were rotating all the time, but some of them were meaner than others. And they would just be like, you need to put him down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
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 As a father, I'm like, what?
Excuse me?
Excuse me?
Yeah. And yeah, I think we still, in my mind, I don't think I understood the gravity of what we were being launched into. I thought, we'll get to the bottom of this. We're doing all these tests. You're going to talk to the nanny. We'll figure it out.
Cooperative.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
We didn't go to a lawyer right away because we have nothing to hide. We're working with you. And, I think it's hard, like looking back on all of it still, I would say. But
Because what year was this again?
This was in 2024.
2024. Okay.
But the whole time, you're worried about your kid and they're putting him through 1 billion different tests and you're not getting a lot of sleep in there because they're coming in to check him every 5 seconds and he's happy. I think he barely cried the entire time he's in there. And everybody's commenting on how great he is. There were no issues. There were no outward signs. Like they made several notes that they could move his arms and his legs and he showed no signs of pain. He's happy baby. After 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, they let him eat again. He was on an IV for the first bit because his throat was still sore and he wasn't taking a bottle. But within, that time frame, at least 48 hours max, he was eating by himself. Again, he was just fine. And they had noted even on their side that he was ready for discharge medically because he was A-okay. But we had no idea. Like we knew they called us to Mission PD because that's where we lived to do interviews separately. They pulled us in separately and our stories were the same. I could tell in my interview, I still don't really know about his, but in mine, they were going after him immediately. They wanted me to say my husband did this. They wanted me to throw him under the bus when I wouldn't cooperate. Well, I think what I said exactly, and I would love to get my hand on the footage, but I'm pretty sure I said, if you can prove to me without a shadow of a doubt that my husband hurt my son, I will help you bury his body.
Right.
Like,
yeah, kids come first.
Yeah. But I've never even seen him hurt a fly. He's not, like, I am with him. I'm a breastfeeding mom. He's not been alone with our son for very long.
I wonder if they do that. I wonder if statistics are higher that males
Yes.
abuse kids. Is that what that is?
That's
Okay,
exactly
so
right.
they're going straight just
Yeah.
for repeatability. Okay.
Yeah. And it's,
Which is still, I understand that aspect, but that's messed up to treat everybody that comes in through the door. Like, okay, yeah, I could see to where they're like, hey, Usually in our cases, this is usually the suspect, but like, don't go in there as if he's already guilty. Try to see what happened. Try to comb through the evidence first. You know what I mean?
Well, that's part of the problem, because we've said this from the start. We went in there and we were just guilty rather than proven innocent. You know, you're supposed to have that innocent until proven guilty, but it was completely the other way around.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's the case it's been for a lot of families.
You're guilty, now you have to prove you're innocent.
Oh, right? That's it. And we're not going to give you access to any of the tools to do it. And I would say one of the things that struck me most is while we were in the hospital until that Mission PD interview, DCF, everybody was super nice to us. Mission PD that came to talk to us at the hospital, like DCF that talked to us at the hospital, they were all nice and okay, yeah, shaking your head. And then the minute we get to Mission PD, it's like total 180, just different personalities. The DCF investigator, I use that term very lightly. She was, when I wouldn't say that it was my husband, because they had concocted a story in their head that Brian Boxx, he snuck into the room because we had put our son down by like 7:30 that night. When he got home from work, he snuck into the room while I was tucking Sawyer in and stuck his finger down Finn's throat to cut the back of his throat.
Oh my God.
And I didn't hear any of it because apparently Finn didn't cry during that time. And then he snuck out again, and
yeah, it's weird.
It's so weird. And I just looked at them, I'm like, no. And I was like, your timeline, I pissed them off because it's like, your timeline is off. This story is nonsensical.
Not only that, if you did that, surely the baby would wake up screaming.
Why wouldn't
you know
Finn
what I mean?
cry?
And surely there'd be blood on you. You know what I mean? Is that what they found inside? Did they end up running the? So
they did a scope, but what was crazy is I completely skipped this part. One of the things that they had to do after they hotlined us was a full body exam for abuse. Okay, so they strip Finn down to a diaper, and they're checking his body for markings, physical signs of abuse. And our son was born with like little marks all over. He's got stork bites on the back of his head. He's got a stork bite in the middle of his head. He had him in the corner of his eyes.
What's a stork bite? What is that?
It's like a birthmark, really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And he had one right on the back of his head here, and it kind of goes up and through into the back.
Oh, okay.
And they kept trying to say, "Oh, what is this?" And I'm like, well, it's a stork bite. He was born with it. We're in a hospital
right now. You guys can go run some tests on that thing.
Right? Well, but the fact that they're saying, what is this? Hang on a minute. We're in a hospital. You guys are the...
You've never seen a stork bite
You guys are the professionals
before?
here.
Right.
You should know this.
Well, not even that. I remember when Andrea told me there's specific people that have specific skills in that particular department. And so generally, like when we discussed the spiral fracture deal, it's like you have to have someone who specializes in those type of injuries rather than somebody who just, they have a little bit of experience in a very wide array of things they have to look over when it comes to child abuse. It's like, it's no difference than, I remember one time I had to go to my primary care physician because I get perioral dermatitis on my face, this red skin condition. And my primary told me, yeah, use this steroid cream and it'll get all that stuff cleaned up for you. And I was like, well, I was looking on Google and it told me that you shouldn't put a steroid on your face. It'll actually agitate it even more. So then I go to a dermatologist after using it and it made it worse. He goes, oh, no, we never put steroid cream on our face. And I'm like, well, that's what I told the primary care physician. He's like, yeah, but I specialize in skin. So that's another thing I've noticed, too. It's like, if you're not specialized in some of these departments, you could definitely get it wrong for sure.
Oh, and they do.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10. So a child abuse pediatrician, which is who these people, this scan clinic at Children's Mercy, they call themselves child abuse pediatricians, child abuse specialists. The reality of what that means is they are a pediatrician. Their specialty is pediatrics.
Right.
And they have a sub-certification in abuse. And why child abuse pediatrics was formed is because, well, it's a long torrid history, but essentially they wanted a way for people to say that they could outwardly spot abuse by signs like bruises on the skin, but they were to be a last defense. So if a kid comes through a hospital, an ER that's especially nonverbal, that they go through every specialty. That it's a differential diagnosis, right? So they go through radiology, they go through hematology, they go through all the levels of a hospital to see what could be happening to this child under the surface. And if nothing is found in all of that, then a child abuse pediatrician comes in and then they start investigating for abuse. That is not how it happens, though. What happens is, especially at Children's Mercy, when a child comes through the ER, they're routed straight to child abuse pediatrics.
Oh my God.
And now, if they are 5 years old or younger, they immediately, no matter what, ear infection, you're getting a child abuse workup. And that's a strip search, like strip down, put a gown on, full physical abuse workup, no matter what you're in the ER for.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Is that just at the one downtown?
That just came to fruition.
After we started talking.
After, yeah.
Really?
Yes. They changed their protocols. Ooh. So it's like they're doubling down a bit, but...
A bit.
Yeah, it seems like a lot.
It feels very much like, obviously you go to the hospital and as you were saying, that's due diligence to do check. Mm-hmm. But now that last one, child abuse pediatrician, is right at the top and they just check that one off. And if they see a bruise, it's tick, boom, good.
So one person kind of determines a family's fate.
Yep. And nothing else is considered. Once a child abuse pediatrician says this is abuse. Oh, there's
no checks and balances?
No, nothing is done.
Good Lord.
They said that my son had fractures and they didn't even check his vitamin D levels, which is like basic 101 medicine. Yeah. If a baby comes in with fractures, multiple fractures, you check the vitamin D level to see what in the heck is happening with the bone health. And then you start looking into genetics and you start looking into like osteogenesis imperfecta and a number of different things that could be happening to a child under their bones instead of just saying this parent must have just run their child to a hospital after they abuse them multiple times.
And let's get it clear here. It's not like we don't want abused kids to be caught.
Of course.
Like, or not abused. Parents that are abusing their kids to be caught. Absolutely. We do want them to be caught. But it's the fact of, in that process, how many innocent people are getting targeted? This is no different than innocent people that are serving time right now in prison that didn't commit a crime. I mean, there's whole programs for that. We've seen Rogan have people on his show that I think it's Project Innocence or it's
Midwest Innocence Project has its own chapter.
Okay.
Just for us.
See, there's so many people that are so many organizations like this are popping up because they're seeing it's starting to get and I get this sometimes when I talk about law enforcement because they think as if I'm this cop hater. And it's not necessarily that I hate cops. It's the fact of or law enforcement or judge it. It's just the fact of I see fuckery in places and I see corruptness and I see people trying to push cases in order to seal the case and it's over. We found it. We can move on, or whatever type of ladder they're trying to climb. And these things are real, okay? Not enough training for these officers or not enough training for these, what are they called?
Child abuse pediatricians.
Child abuse pediatricians. These people need to be trained up to a very high standard because you're dealing with people's lives. Whether you're a cop, whether you're a child abuse pediatrician, you're going to affect people. And it doesn't matter if it's a small percentage. If you were in their shoes, you'd be pissed, okay? So we have to be very careful. And I don't know why this is not high priority and being discussed more on ways to try to not let this happen. Is there checks and balances like we just discussed that we could put in place? And instead, it sounds like from what you're telling me, that they're now making it even worse by eliminating those processes that could have, been able to show hold on, we sent this child here before they got to here. These look okay. Yeah, she or he sees something, but this evidence outweighs her evidence. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. That way it's fair. And maybe
it's not fair.
And maybe people will. There will be situations. I understand we can't catch everything. I totally get that, but we can try. And there are a lot more smarter people than me, than you guys, and that are up in these circles that could implement these things that could come together and be able to create a better structure. I mean, I think any business, any type of like company, year after year after year, you want to better your processes, not eliminate them and make it worse. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's hard. My degree's in PR and advertising, so I understand the importance of a message. And when you have a topic like this, it is very important to lay the ground and say, child abuse absolutely exists. No one is denying that. I think the thing that blew my mind most after being in this is due process does not exist in family court. Our children were taken with zero due process. And then B, when I got into it and I started learning from some of the smartest people I've met in my life who have been doing this work for decades, that the science that the child abuse pediatricians are using to diagnose abuse is all been disproven. It's all outdated. It's down to, we had evidence in 2008, clear evidence saying that shaken baby syndrome does not exist. There's no possible way to shake a baby to the point of harming them without getting neck fractures, without getting spinal fractures.
Oh, okay.
And there's never once been a case of shaken baby that has any spinal fracture.
Really?
Not once.
Ever?
Ever.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because, you grew up hearing about shaken baby syndrome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's a propaganda campaign that was created.
Really?
Yes. And I think that's the thing that blew my mind the most is when you really start to dig in and you see what these child abuse pediatricians are hanging their hat on and getting these convictions, because they are essentially cops for hospitals is what they are now. They help build investigations. It's all been debunked. And I think if you're talking about the Innocence Project and these people that are sitting in prison because we have things like dogs, those dogs that go and smell crime scenes for stuff.
Yeah, like drug sniffing dogs and stuff.
Yes, that's now debunked completely as being like credible science that you can make a conviction on. Things like lie detector, taking a polygraph test.
Oh yeah, we just talked about that on the last episode.
Yep, it's now
hold up in court.
Exactly. But it's still being used. Like this science is still being used to convict parents of abuse. And I think that was like, in what other medical specialty do they not learn and use the latest science to better the field? And these people are just completely ignoring the latest science that I could send you, and I'm happy to, white paper after published from like neuroscientists, pediatric radiologists, these people who are specialized in this and have been doing the work for 20, 30 years are like, these caps are, something is off here. What is happening?
Are they speaking out, or are they too scared to speak out?
A lot of them have. And there is a documentary you should watch called The Syndrome. It is the best. I've watched every documentary on this topic possible.
Oh, I bet, after going through,
Yes, The Syndrome is absolutely one you have to watch. It does the best job explaining the issue. And it shows you what happens when people like experts in their fields speak out. They are demonized. They are ostracized. Many of them.
We've seen that not too long ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually just reported on my TikTok, there was a whistleblower in Minnesota. His name's Dr. Sharon, and he came forward to talk about the CAP program at their hospital, saying that they forced him to lie about what he was finding and say it was abuse. And it was happening multiple times because it's a money-making thing.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you.
That's
what I was getting ready to ask you. I'm like, what is the reason they're not updating this science? Is this some type of funneling extra, like getting funds for these like for these organizations, and like, because that's the only thing that would signal to me. It's like, hold on, why aren't you revamping this? Why aren't you being being updated with the latest science and in the medical field on what they've looked at and what they've learned throughout history? The only reason I could see is either you're lazy and you're just not doing your job. You're just, riding on the coattails and collecting a check, or there's some type of lucrative, like an incentive, you're not doing it. So
it's both, really.
Yeah, more than likely.
Right?
Yeah, more than likely.
And I say all of this, and every time I have this conversation, every time I say this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I sound crazy. Like, people are going to listen to this, and they're going to think that I'm a wacko. But the thing is, look into it. I will tell you, it's not very hard to find. Children's Mercy, because it's in between Missouri and Kansas, it gets millions in federal funding just for this program.
Really?
Government grants. So I don't know if you've ever worked on a government grant, but typically how they work is you have to meet grant goals to get reimbursement. So there is an incentive to finding abuse, because the more abuse you find, the more grants you get. In Kansas, it's tied into a bill called HB 2024 that I have actually been working tirelessly with the legislative committee, the Child Welfare Committee in Kansas, to change, because there's very easy tweaks that could help protect parents like us. But it's millions of dollars that they're getting. I think the other thing that is going to sound conspiracy, but I tell stories. Like, that's all I do on my TikTok now. After coming out with our story.
I've noticed that, yeah.
I can't keep up with them.
Stories.
Other people's stories. They are flooding in every day. I'm getting a new story.
Every day you're telling me a new story.
Oh, it's just like, listen to what happened today. Listen to this. And everyone just keeps getting more and more mind-blowing. And the red thread in almost every single one of them, actually, I think we might be the only outlier of the stories I've received, is that there was a medical negligence of some kind. The hospital made an error, or the child was brought into the ER and then sent home and said, it's fine, you'll be fine, nothing wrong. And then the kid came back and it was something bad. And then a hotline report is made. Oh. And when you are hotlined, mandated reporter laws, which go back to CAPTA, signed in as a federal bill, you cannot sue for any reason a mandated reporter.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So they're covering their asses by hotlining when they don't pick up a problem.
Why does that happen everywhere? No one gets sued.
Well, this is
pharmaceutical companies.
They picked up on this.
Yeah,
hospitals found out that they could get immunity in this way. And I say that allegedly, but I'm just, one of my superpowers in life is spotting red threads, spotting patterns. And I'm telling you, I've received over 1,000 stories, and every single one of them have this in common. Right. Is that I told one that went viral. She took her child in. This is crazy. Took her child in to Children's Mercy because he was throwing up, lethargic, having a lot of issues. They gave him lidocaine to start an IV. And then there was something else later down the road that they had to give him a little more topical lidocaine for. They did a drug screen on this child and they found too much lidocaine. They tried to hotline them up. They did hotline the mom for lidocaine poisoning, said that she poisoned her own child with lidocaine at her home.
But they're the ones who put the lidocaine.
Yes. Yes.
What the fuck?
And guess what happened when she went to talk to every lawyer around us? They said,
nothing you can do. They don't even want to touch it.
No, not with a 10-foot pole. Most of the lawyers around here will tell you, Children's Mercy is great. They're great. Why would you ever want to go after a children's hospital? Or they will say, I will lose my career if I go after Children's Mercy.
Oh, my God. I guess that's what happens when you make that much money, too. Yep. You're untouchable.
It's quite literally untouchable. Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Exact word I was going to use.
And we're not saying Children's Mercy doesn't help a lot of children. Surely they do.
I always say that too.
Right.
But put yourself in your guys' shoes. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't just go, well, they help a lot of people, but yeah, there's a certain percentage that, well, we need to still pay attention because these are people's lives and they're not having a choice in this. Yeah. They're not able to defend themselves. It's different if you're able to defend yourself. But it's one thing if you're just like, some organization can literally take away your kids on what they feel is right. And that's not fair at all. Like you said, there was no due process in that.
Well, and let's talk about this. So a lot of the pushback I always get on this issue is from medical professionals who say, we are mandated reporters. If we see something, we say something. It's the law. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. But if you're a medical mandated reporter and you're saying something is abuse before ruling anything else out, then when you toss the football over to DCF, who has no medical training, and then it's their job to investigate if it's abuse, and all they have to go off of is someone who calls themselves a child abuse pediatrician saying that this is abuse, case closed.
Right.
Like, that's it.
Right.
What's DCF going to do?
All they're going to do is just line up their points. They're going to look at their points. They're going to look it over, and they're going to go, "What? Yeah, it looks right." Yeah.
And the DCF investigator, again, use it very lightly. She went and talked to Sawyer, our daughter's teachers, school, everyone that she talked to about us as a family, said, absolutely not. Not this family. This is a good family. She didn't take any of that into consideration. None of it. Huh. All she cared about was that CAP report. And then in the petition that was given to the judge to make a decision if we should keep our children, she had not only just copied and pasted the CAP report, but then peppered in lies, just said we weren't married. She was trying to create a narrative that we were, I don't know, I had 2 kids from different dads. We weren't even married, to the point where like the judge asked me, do you know for sure this is the father of your child? Just trying to embarrass me in front of everyone. She said our son was fighting for his life, hooked up to machines in the hospital when he had been discharged, like the 3rd day we were there. It was, I think,
like you said too, it's not like that was the only hospital you went to.
Right.
You went to others.
The third entity. Like we had gone to St. Luke's, who said he was fine. We had talked to our own pediatrician, who said he was fine.
Yeah.
None of that was taken into consideration.
But
as a caring parent, you're going to take them to 3 different places, obviously showing that you're caring. If you are abusing your child, you know, you're not going to go and take them to 3 different places to get them checked out.
After the first one, after they said he's all right, if you're abusing your child, you're going, all right, he's all right.
I can't even say that there are a lot of nice medical professionals that reach out to me and say, I'm so sorry you went through this. Like, abusive parents don't bring their children to the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
And I think the other thing, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm so sorry. I talked to Andrea about this quite a bit, actually. And one of the most common comments I get in my comment section is, I'm a teacher or I'm a principal. And I hotline kids for abuse all the time when I know, like you see handprints on the face, you clear abuse, neglect.
Cigarette burns,
DCF does
whipping.
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. CPS never even checks on the kid at school. So why? Is it because it's a medical professional? And Andrea is kind of, I'm not going to quote her, but we've gotten to the point where it's like when a doctor says something it's abuse, then it does your job for you as like DCF. You have nothing left to do except for just put a pretty bow on it and hand it to a judge. Right. And most people get convicted or put in jail, put in jail for a long time.
So at this point, what happened? I can't remember what part we left on.
We were stuck in the hospital. They kicked Boxy out after 2 days.
Yeah. Yes. No. Yeah, 2 or 3 days.
So this is the babysitters in there watching you guys, blah, blah, blah. So how long did that go on for?
We were in there for a week. And nobody would tell us what was happening.
And you guys stayed there? Or you had to go back and forth?
No, I got to stay. They made sure to let me know I was only able to stay because I was a breastfeeding mother. Rude. I mean, they were not nice at all. They all had just made up their mind about me. We got the files later, and the nurses that would come in or the babysitters were building a case against us like, mother is crying inconsolably today. It's a bad thing.
Yeah, right.
Like, of course.
Yeah, God forbid you wouldn't have cried. She's not even showing any emotions.
Well, we talked about that a lot too. Yeah. It's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yeah. I swear.
And I'm not saying they need to be like kissing your ass or anything, but they could still be objective and like just no emotion. Just treat them like a human being. That's it.
Yeah,
not as if you're guilty already.
Right. That did not happen. But I had asked a nurse. I think the Sunday, we got in there. I don't know. On a Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah, and then Tuesday. The Sunday following, I was like, what's going on? I had contacted a lawyer at this part. I would say after the Mission PD interview, it was like, oh shit, we are in trouble. They were clearly going to go after him. And DCF was threatening. She was like, well, if you're not going to tell us what's going on, we're going to take your daughter too. So it was threatening. And we still had no idea what was going on. The lawyer, I had one tell me, they can't hold you. They legally cannot hold you with no kind of plan.
And they never told you that?
No, never. Wow. And so I had asked the social worker at the hospital, what's going on? I had a lawyer tell me that you can't hold me. And he says, you know what? You can leave. You can leave right now, but we will call the cops and we'll have you arrested. And we're in Missouri and you live in Kansas. So your children will be put into Missouri foster care. And that will make it a lot harder to get them back.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God, dude.
And that was just me. He was already kicked out. So this is just me by myself trying to like figure out what in the hell we're going to do.
You know, the emotions are already ripe and sky high with what's going on. You know, you don't think about all of that information, you know, thinking about the fact that you need to get a lawyer and get more information for help. So then you're just completely left in the dark.
I know.
And then you get no information from these people that are supposed to be there, that are supposed to help. You know, we went to them for help and you get nothing.
And then I'm sitting here kind of hindsight biased. So I'm looking at the whole story laid out, but I'm sure you're like trying to take this all in. Like, it's easy for me to go like, oh my God, I would have freaked out. And you feel like you would, but at the same time, you're like in it trying to, hey, we're trying to figure this out. Let's help each other. Let's get this resolved. And then it's like, but now look what happened towards the end. They, you know, and we'll get to that, but I mean, you are the ones who had to pay the price for all this. And
our children are the ones that had to pay the ultimate price. My daughter.
Yeah.
She had to pay the ultimate
That's
price.
horrendous. You know, you raise your children trying to be a good parent. And, you know, one of the things you obviously say is honesty is the best policy. She told the truth and she was penalized for it. And
oh, really?
Does that make sense? Like they thought we were coerced and we'd made up this story. But, you know, if you tell the truth, everybody's story is going to be the same. Mm-hmm. But because of that, they thought that we told her to say these things.
We coached her.
We coached her.
God.
That's what the DCF investigator wrote, that because all of our stories were the same, clearly we made it up and we coached Sawyer on what to say. And
So you just want us to be like, we're guilty. Is that what they wanted out of the whole
That's
fucking
exactly
time?
what
That's exactly what they wanted.
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they wanted.
Frustrating.
And I think the best way to explain it is you feel like a caged animal. I felt like a caged animal when I was in there. I am like you. I have always said, if somebody comes after my kids, I will come after you.
Yeah.
But I think like fight or flight kicked in and it's like, okay, I gotta, I don't know. You have to like play the game.
Well, that's why I feel for you, because I can say this right now, and I say this all the time. Like, somebody comes out, I'm gonna Ruby Ridge my fucking house. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's gonna be fucking crazy. Right. You know. But when I actually sit down and actually take in a story like your guys', I'm like, I think I'm gonna be in the same position as you guys, like trying to work through this, because, like I said, I'm seeing the entire story.
Yeah.
But you guys are living through it. It's almost like being in a scary movie and you know it's a movie and you're like, run, what are you doing? Like, they don't know. You know
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Yes. And so I can say this all I want, but really I'd be in the same position as you guys, like confused, trying to work with them to prove my innocence. And also now, I mean, you're having to hire a lawyer and stuff like that and having to deal with that and trying to figure out your rights because you're not having to explain to you guys. So I'm sure it was a whirlwind of emotions. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, to put it lightly, but I still think the whole thing was just such a, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Like planning
and surely you
and
didn't
preparing.
think it was going to go on that long.
No,
no,
absolutely not.
That's
and then I was like,
thing.
if we're in the hospital this long, I mean, what is going to happen? What are they waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
And
because this is just that 1 week, right?
This was 1 week, exactly. And at some point, I think probably after the mission interview, I knew we needed lawyers, and he's a Brit, never been in trouble in the UK. The most I've been in trouble here is a speeding ticket. And so it's like, how the hell did we get lawyers? We didn't know what to do. Our neighbor, one of our neighbors, her mom is a great, she was a family court lawyer in Kansas that taught at UMKC.
Oh,
so I just called her and it was like, I need your mom's help. I don't know where to turn. And her mom called me immediately and she's like, okay, you're going to do this. You're going to call this person. And she put me in contact with a woman. I call her, she's like the matriarch of fighting this. She's been doing it for over 2 decades. She's about to turn 80. She's amazing. She calls me and she just starts giving me tasks. And frankly, I think she's the only reason I survived the hospital, because she's like, Sarah, like, get your shit together. You're going to do this. You're going to have a clear mind. Go get his records, what you can from the registrar. You know, I need you to get your records from birth. And she just gave me tasks and I wrote them down. I made notes and then I just, okay. Sorry, I use my hands a lot when I talk.
No, you're good. It was just you're kind of getting in front of the mic.
Okay.
So, you're good.
And so Heather's giving me tasks, and I'm thankful for that because we were set up to be in a better place than most. I would say my mom somehow found us lawyers in the last minute. And we only met them. I don't even think you met your lawyer before we were called into this court. Well, we found out the Sunday before a nurse let it slip. I was like, what is going on? And she goes, well, you're being held here until your hearing. I was like, what? Hearing? Excuse me? Like, we had no idea that we were about to be taken to a hearing. And that was obviously scary. And it was after 5 that same Sunday, I get a text message from this DCF investigator who was like, be at the Johnson County Courthouse at this time, don't be late. She asked me for a list of 5 families I'd be okay with my children going to be with.
This was through text?
Yes, through text.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Just cold, very cold.
Yeah.
And so we did that. We found lawyers. The morning, I didn't sleep the whole night before we went to our court hearing. We had no idea what to expect. They asked me what time we were leaving because they didn't have enough staff to watch our son while we were gone. And I was like, wait just a second. You're telling me that I'm being looked at for neglect and you're going to leave a 2-month-old alone in his room?
Yeah, in the biggest hospital.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And she's like, well, I just told you we were understaffed. We'll put him on a monitor. They were just going to watch his vitals and that, like, imagine a little baby in a bed by himself in a room and they were just going to watch him on the monitor.
Yeah, that's insane.
So that was infuriating. And the minute I walked through security to leave to go to our hearing, they locked me out. I was not allowed back in that hospital. I was not going to be allowed to see our son again. And I had a panic attack, I'm sure, in the car headed to meet my lawyer for the first time. We sat down and I think we're still going to be able to prove our innocence. And I'm laying out all this great information. One of the things that they kept doing to us is throwing my son's pictures of our son's scans out and like, look at this broken bone. Do you see this? And frankly, we're both like, no, we don't see anything. But one of the times they were doing that, I took pictures of them and I sent them to Heather that I was working with. I was like, here's what I can get. We need to get a second opinion. And right away, she sent them to 2 actual experts that she works with all the time. Both of them came back to say it looks like he has rickets. Severe.
Rickets. I've heard that before. What is rickets?
It's a deficiency in the bone. It creates, malnourished bones. It can come from vitamin D deficiency. I think vitamin C deficiency. It was bad back in, the days of sailing and pirating and people they were getting scurvy and not enough sunlight. It was creating weak bones. But our son was only breastfed. We think now that he probably wasn't getting enough nutrients. Right. I wasn't supplementing with vitamin D drops or anything. And he was fast growing. Even in utero, he was measuring 2 weeks ahead. And I mean, we know the conception date and time. So we know that that's not off, but he was always 2 weeks ahead. And then he came out huge. And then he was just growing after. He's right now like in the 99th percentile after we just went to the neurologist. So he's a big boy and he's growing fast and we think his bones just could not keep up.
Yeah, which literally, like you said, they could have done a blood test on him, see what he was deficient in, and then they could have, hey, can we follow up here in a couple of months? And then been able to compare. Yeah,
anything. There's 100 different things we could have done differently than let's take their children.
Right. Hey, let me take a break real quick. I want to fix that mic. The mic is bothering me right now. All right, cool. All right, we're back. Apologies. That stupid mic arm was driving me nuts.
It's okay.
Do we remember where we left off?
I think it was, we learned we had to go to this hearing. We met.
Yeah, that's what it was. The text message. Yeah.
The morning, an hour before we walk into the courtroom, I think both of us are still feeling like, well, this is scary, but never thought we were going to walk into the place and lose our children because we still had not proved our innocence.
Was this your lawyer or was this a public defender?
This was my lawyer.
Okay, good.
And we each had to have a different lawyer, we learned, because we were being treated each as different suspects.
Oh my God, more money. That's what I do.
Oh, and we had to have a family court lawyer and a criminal lawyer, because not all lawyers do both.
Yeah.
And so even the lawyer, we're telling him the story. I told him we have, these clear second opinions already saying that there's something going on. I'm a breastfeeding mom. Who's going to take a 2-month-old baby from a breastfeeding mom? If there's a second opinion, like, we need to look into this more. Walk into the courtroom. The judge is handed this petition that we just got 2 minutes before, the judge walks in. We're seeing it's full of lies. She walks in, reads the petition, asks the GAL, guardian ad litem, who was there to represent the children, his thoughts. He had never met the children, but he gets to weigh in by just reading the petition.
Wow.
Asks our lawyers if they have anything to say. They say nothing. Nothing at all. Don't bring up the second opinions. Don't bring up anything at all.
Your lawyers did?
Yes. Nothing.
Didn't
even speak.
say anything. Didn't even, we quickly pointed out the petition was full of BS.
And they just went there to collect a check.
Said nothing.
Jesus Christ. That's oh my God.
And
was everybody after you guys? Jesus Christ.
This is how the system works.
Right.
This is it.
God.
This is the reality.
Yeah,
of
but
what
you think
this
you
is.
hire a lawyer.
But all the lawyers in family court are...
They all know each other.
Yeah, and I would also just say that what happened to us, once a child is put into this mess, everybody gets paid.
Oh, I bet.
Everybody.
I bet they do.
And the longer they're in it, the more they get paid. And you're probably never going to see a case that's less than 6 months, because after 6 months, that's the maximum capacity that, a state figure can get for a child. And if the child has medical complexities, that's even more money.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and you dig in. I invite anybody watching this, dig. It's easy to find.
Where do you think they should start at?
Oh,
I'm sure it's
just a simple Google SEO, as we found out recently.
ChatGPT brings up a ton.
What's it called? Google what?
Oh, just a Google search,
Oh,
sorry.
no.
Oh, okay.
Because you were saying this the other day, basically how much Sarah has pushed it now. She's like second or third.
Somebody Googled
find,
CMH the other day.
On Google.
Because this is a crazy story too. This is a good segue. I get it. This is my day usually. I work a 9 to 5, but I'm getting calls daily from parents who find me. And I get a call from a mom, and she's freaking out. She says, "Hey, listen, I got to tell you my story. I had a domestic violence situation, months ago. My child was involved, so I called CPS myself. I kicked my husband out. I called CPS myself. They sent a caseworker in, said that you guys are good because the threat is gone, right? And her husband was Hungarian, and I think ended up getting deported. So literally the threat was gone. She has 2 kids, so her youngest son, who is not even a year old yet, was born with birth trauma, noted in his birth chart, and has to go for regular checkups to monitor this head trauma. And when the husband was gone, they lost their insurance, and so she went to the closest CMH clinic. I think being a mom, I talked to her, and she's just one of those people that shares everything. So she walked in, she told him about why she was there, losing the access to their regular pediatrician, about the domestic violence. They hotline her again. Even though the threat's gone, CMH hotlines for abuse. And so another report's open, and they send another caseworker out to her house. This caseworker walks in, and honestly, he sounds like an angel. He walks in and he said, "This is laughable. The threat is gone. This child that they called in for was not even involved in the assault that was reported. I'm closing the case. This is nothing." She's like, "Oh, okay, good. Phew." But thought it was weird that it even happened. And then CMH starts calling her. Their scan clinic, the abuse clinic, starts calling her, demanding that she bring her infant son in to have a full body skeletal x-ray done, and making it seem like she has to. There's no option.
But who wants to do that after you've already been flagged twice? You know what I mean? Like,
right. And why? Why?
Yeah, and then none of it held up, right?
Right.
I mean, they said it was laughable.
Exactly.
So I'd be like, I'm not fucking taking my kid back there.
I mean, she started freaking out. She's like, "Do I have to legally? Do I have to go?" And she Googled, "What's the scan clinic?" Because I don't think she knew. And my videos popped up to the top. And so that is how she found me. And she reached out, and she was asking a bunch of questions. And I started contacting the lawyers I've met through this to learn what she has to do. And it's not. They're just bullying. She does not have any legal reason to have to go there unless a caseworker. The caseworker that came to her house had seen a reason and then made a mandate through the courts that she had to do it. But that's it. Like CMH cannot be calling people saying that they have to come in for full body scans. But then they just kept harassing her. She said no, they'd call back the next day. She'd say no, they'd call back the next day, and continue to pressure and make them feel like just it was a bully. And she kept saying to me, Sarah, I just like got out of an abusive relationship. I feel like I'm being abused by these people. And finally she goes, you know what I'm going to do? I tried to send her to our pediatrician because we trust her so much. And she walked through this whole experience with us and would know what to do. But she found someone else, a pediatric radiologist in town who's been practicing over 10 years. They did a scan, just a check over, make sure everything's good. They found a clavicle fracture in the child, and they said, oh, it's very clear that dates back to birth. You're all fine. Go home. Nothing to worry about. So the next time Children's Mercy called her, she said, I already went, I got him checked out. Everything's good. Nothing to worry about. And they told her, oh no, we are the only ones who can read baby scans in around here. Wow. Nobody else can do that. It's like we are the ones that can do that. And I talked to her again today, actually, because she was still being harassed, and I don't think they had called back today. But essentially, it would have been up to the caseworker. He could have pressed if he was being pressed enough by CMH to get a court order. But
how do you get a fracture like that at birth, though? I'm just curious on that.
I mean, that happens all the time.
Does it?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, most fractures, let me put it this way. Working with all these very smart, way smarter people than me, I have learned that most babies probably are born with fractures, especially if they're born vaginally, because it is traumatic in itself.
Right.
Especially if they've been given Pitocin, because Pitocin speeds up a delivery, and it's excessive force on a baby through a very small space. Yeah. And so most babies, the statistics, and it hasn't been tested because nobody's going to radiate babies when they're coming into the world, but the estimate is that if you put 100 kids, through an x-ray machine that way, at least 95% of them would probably come out with fractures of some sort. But they heal on their own. And most babies' bones are malleable and they heal very fast, and they never show signs like our son that they're in any pain, and it's not a big deal. But clavicle fractures are actually quite common because their bodies are having to fold up to get, out of the canal. So
or not even that, like I think it was my firstborn. They had to use these tongs to pull her out. And when they pulled her out, her head was bruised from the tongs. And like the way I watched them with these big old freaking, I call them tongs, but they're like these little
forceps.
Forceps. They grab them and they pull the baby out. And I remember looking at my child, I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are all these bruises on her head and stuff like? Or my second, her whole face was bruised, and they didn't even, it was just from the force of delivery, like from her pushing. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like could that, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm saying, like.
And it would. And I would say at least half of the families that come to me, the parents that have happened to this, and that they're saying they have skull fractures and they've shaken their baby, it is that.
Wow.
Like if
You're blowing my mind right now. I never thought about that.
Yes. If you would have put your babies through a scan, I would almost bet whatever money we have left that they would find either a skull fracture or a hemorrhage.
Damn.
Because hemorrhages are so subdural hematomas, these big phrases that they use. It's just a bruise, a subdural hematoma. It's a bruise. You could get a subdural hematoma essentially braiding someone's hair too hard.
Oh, yeah, there's levels, I'm guessing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But they use these things and they throw them out there like they can only be found in abuse cases. And that's so false.
Yeah.
And that's where this starts to spiral. But
how far back has this gone? Because I remember my firstborn, and I'll say this right now. Thank God that Children's Mercy was there for my first child whenever she had RSV. She got it. I think she was about a year. So my daughter's 15 now. I want to say about a year, because we went to the Children's Mercy up north first on Berry Road, and they sent us down to the one downtown. Yeah. Like as soon as I walked in, they took her away from me because she was having issues breathing. That's why we brought breathing. And all of a sudden they're putting her on a table and they're sticking the tube down her throat because that's how she couldn't. We woke up and she was breathing heavily. And, you know, I'm the type of parent where I'm just like the day before, I'm like, she's fine, she's sick. It's I grew up, you know, we didn't go to the hospital for every
Rub
little
some
thing.
dirt on it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when I woke up and I turned over and she had told me, she was like, my wife was like, Gabriel, there's something wrong. And then when I seen her chest doing that, like she was struggling to breathe, I was like, okay, let's go. And then we took her there. They sent us down there, and we were in the NICU for 2 weeks. She was on a ventilator. Yeah. And I never had any issues with them. Like, so was this, and I'm not saying, of course there's going to be people that are going to be fine. There's going to be people that what you had to go through. But do you think this has been increasing over the years? Or do you think this goes back and it's always been an issue?
Okay, so child abuse pediatrics, shaken baby theory in general, it was started back around the time when imaging, so we had the x-ray first and then we got CT scan. And when the CT scan evolved, it allowed us for the first time to see inside, like really in-depth pictures inside the body. And what happened was this man, well, there were a couple of men that are like the father of child abuse pediatrics. And Kemp, you should look into Kemp if you want to go down that path a little bit more. But there's Kemp and there's Goofcouch. He's German. I don't ever say that correctly. But they made a hypothesis. You know, they were pediatricians. They had never seen inside these bodies before. They throw out these hypotheses that, okay, if a child comes in and on the outside they have no outward signs of trauma, but then you find a fracture, then there's a high likelihood that that child was abused. And that was the hypothesis. What happened, it was never tested. Because how do you test that? You can't. Right. You can't unless you start throwing kids in scans. But the hypothesis grew and grew and grew. And then people started, it was like circular theory, circular thinking. And then child abuse pediatricians were born. And
do you know what year? You're probably not going to remember all that, but do you know what year?
Off the top, I mean, I should remember this because this is like my second job at this point. But I'm trying to, the Helfer Society, that's what we want to look into. So the Helfer Society was the first collection. It's like a good old boys club. Helfer, Helfer.
When that Helfer Society?
Helfer Society. That was really the first group of pediatricians who were pushing this narrative. And a lot of these same pediatricians, you can look into, there was the whole like around satanic panic, child rituals. They had a theory that these people were using children for child satanic rituals that was quickly discredited. It was thrown out as being junk that these pediatricians were bringing. And when that happened, it changed to shaken baby or battered baby syndrome, essentially. And this theory that if someone gets so mad, they could shake a baby so hard that they would have the triad, retinal hemorrhages, hematomas in the head, like subdural hematomas, and oh my gosh, of course, I'm not going to remember.
Fractures in the neck, right?
Well, no, because that's not one of their theories because it doesn't exist.
Oh, you're saying that. I thought you said that did.
No.
If you shake the baby, they will have fractures in the neck.
Yes, they will.
Okay,
that's been proven.
Okay.
But that was not in the initial theory. Oh. And when they started doing all these biomechanical tests to prove that, they'd use rhesus monkeys. They would use baby dolls that were anatomically correct. They would never get the response they wanted. And so they just started burying that research because they didn't want it to come out that, wait just a second, like our theory is not checking out. And so in the syndrome, that documentary, it talks, I mean, it's so great. John Plunkett, he's one of the first to stand up and question it and say, wait just a second. This is not making sense. Like when you actually do the research, and a lot of good families people are going to prison for life. People are like being put on death row, up for execution for this.
Right.
And it can't be proven. And so people started getting like testing the waters and coming out and speaking out against it, and they were demonized immediately. Child abuse denialists, quack jobs. I have this whole post where at a child abuse pediatric convention, they had up on a stage and all of them were singing a song, If I Only Had 10 Grand, making fun of anybody who stands up against, like an expert who comes forward advocating for families like ours, saying they only do it for money. They only want money. because you get paid for expert testimony. But the irony of all of that is most of those experts, like the expert that helped us who read our son's scan, did it for free. They all do it for free for the most part. And they actually, the child abuse pediatricians get paid to give their statements and be in court. So it's just like, sometimes like the loudest one in the room is usually the one that you should be worried about.
Yeah.
But
or you shouldn't be worried about the loudest one. Well, I guess worried about in the sense of being fake.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So long story short, I mean, we could sit here all night long and I could tell you everything I've learned about this, but it's easy to go. You can look into the Helfer Society, but the syndrome is like such a good place to start if you want to understand.
What is that on? Is that on Netflix or is that?
You know, I don't know. We have a Roku TV.
Oh, okay. You just searched it up?
Searched it up and
that's
found
usually what I do
right.
too,
And I just found wherever I could stream it.
It'll be on one of those platforms.
Yeah, it'll be somewhere. And honestly, I don't know if anybody has DVD players anymore, but I recently...
I collect DVDs.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just got access to 600 of these things. I could get my hands on one and just send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, I'd love that.
I'll send you a copy. But that's a good place to start. Back to your question of like if somebody wanted to search this. I think something else that I did let's just take Kansas because every state federally like capital laws led a bunch of this. Mandated reporters, you know, you legally have to mandate and how they're protected if they report. That's kind of how this started to spiral. But then they started getting funding for the work. And then I think it just has morphed into, personally, this is my own belief, again, it morphed into a way that hospitals figured out that they could, like insurance, hospitals have become corporations, let's face it, right? You don't go to a hospital anymore and expect the best health care.
No.
I have crippling ADHD and I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and both of those I wasn't diagnosed until in my 30s, in my 30s. And so I just think that like anything else, when insurance gets involved, they had to find a way to cover their butts. And the easiest way to do that in a children's hospital is hide any negligence behind a medical mandated reporter immunity. Right. And I say that with confidence, and I'll stick a big fat allegedly on that, but I do have a lot of confidence that that's what's happening here.
No, I agree.
But go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, didn't they claim on the insurance that was fraudulent as well? Wasn't that a thing, if I remember correctly?
Yes, good catch. So at Children's Mercy, the grant funding that they get states very clearly, you know, if a child abuse workup is happening, then they cannot bill private insurance. They cannot bill Medicaid for like certain portions of it. Well, there is someone internal that we have been talking to, and we've talked to a lot of families who are getting billed private insurance, so we think that they're double dipping now.
So they're taking the funds from you personally and from the insurance. Yeah, well, we already know that whole triangle between the pharmaceutical, the insurance, and then the medical field. Yeah, I mean it's just a mess. It's horrible. It's all money. That's what it all comes back to.
Absolutely.
And so to think for anybody watching that looks at you and thinks you're crazy for that accusation, look at anything that has money.
Exactly.
Somehow it becomes corrupt and fraud. I don't. Yeah. There's too many situations out there that you can look at. Every time it goes back to the dollar. Every single time.
I agree. Yeah. And when you incentivize anything, of course it's going to be found.
Yeah, nobody wants to lose a paycheck. So they're like, well, how do we keep this money flowing? Oh, well, let's hide this shit. It's shaken baby. You know what I mean? Like they'll just find anything. They'll find anything to throw up there. And I'm not saying everybody in that organization doesn't have good means and wanting to help. Surely they do. But it's kind of what I explained to everybody. Out of a group of 100 people, if you're going to have some good and you're going to have some bad apples in that.
Nothing's all good and all
But when it comes down to money and survival, even some of those good apples are going to look the other way, and they're just going to be like, fuck, I've been doing this for 20 years. I got 10 more years to retire. I'm just going to shut up and act like I don't see anything and just do my job and keep collecting. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and it's sad. It's really sad because then people are paying a price for that, you know, and
families,
getting
children.
Hurt. Yeah.
I mean, that is the biggest irony of all of this. They get into it. I do imagine any pediatrician that decides, hey, I'm going to get into the subspecialty of child abuse pediatrics because I want to help abuse kids. That's valiant. But I can't imagine you get into it for long and you can't see what's happening and see the actual evidence. You know, you're a doctor. You live based on evidence-based practice, or you should. So when you're having that delivered to you and you're just choosing to ignore it, it's either because it makes you feel weird or you don't want to know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. Did you find out when did that start?
Founded in '99, incorporated in 2001.
What was it called again? Helfer.
Ray E. Helfer.
So 1999 is when it was founded.
Yeah, but incorporated in '01.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. And it's just evolved like anything else into what I think it is now. And I think the craziest part, again, I will admit, I give Children's Mercy so much hell. My children got taken from me because of them. You? Right.
You know what I mean? Match energies
not even
here.
An apology for what happened. And so I will say that I get also a lot of messages from employees, past, current, that are like, we're so sorry for what you've been through. Or we had to leave because we saw that after 2020, it was after like the COVID year, something happened and our morals don't align and we could not stand to work there anymore.
A lot of nurses walked out during COVID. Yep.
Yes. And they were like, this is just getting worse. I've had doctors reach out to me and say, honestly, I brought this up to them. I saw that what they were doing to these parents wasn't right. I got threatened. You know, I've had nurses say that they took my nursing license when I brought up that it didn't make me feel comfortable. So there's a retaliation. Yeah. And a lot of them are afraid to speak out because of that.
I mean, what happens when the nail sticks out? You know, you get hammered. Yeah. Trust me, I know completely how that feels. I had the same issue at a lot of jobs that I've had in the past. And it's like, you're always the one that wants to help and you see problems and you're, you know, because I've always been the type that like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off now. Let's communicate. Communication is so effective, whether or not you like it or not. Let's get this out here. Let's talk. Fuck your feelings and all that shit. Let's talk to one another. Let's say what probably one another doesn't want to hear, but it should be just out there. And then let's address it. But yet people will look at you as some sort of threat. And it's like, what do you mean? I'm not a threat. I'm seeing something. Let's talk. Instead of hammering me down back into place with the other nails, it's like, why wouldn't you want that? But you're right. They don't want to hear it. This is how we've been running for a long time. We are not going to change.
Well, it's not only that, but I have had a lot of people, you know, this is lawyers, this is people who've been watching this happen for a long time that says, hey, Sarah, if they have to admit that they got it wrong once, what does that do?
Right. That opens up a whole...
Look at the convictions that, you know, they gave expert testimony for. Think of all of what's going to be under question because of they're admitting this, and it's never going to happen.
And I get it because I know hospitals get sued or try to get sued a lot. There's going to be people that are happy to just sue for anything, and that sucks. But you can't just say, okay, well, now we're going to make ourselves immune, like our, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not immune. I guess immune. It is, but like to where they can, man, we said it earlier. Goddamn, I'm having a brain fart right now. But pretty much they can do whatever they want without having feel threatened at all. You know what I mean? And how are you able, using the justification of, well, if anybody comes in here, they'll find something to sue us for. Well, what if some are valid?
Right.
You know?
Maybe just do a better job.
Yeah, not even sue. Maybe they just don't want their kids. You know, like if you had a choice between a check and your kids, surely you're going to be like, I just want my kids back. You know, give me my fucking kids back.
Absolutely.
That's it, you know?
Absolutely.
So I just, God, yeah, I don't know. So we get to the point to where we're at, how long is this now that we're at in this story?
So after the kids were taken, the first month, all of, you know, the rest of October and into November, they are passed through 3 different homes. And that almost destroyed my daughter.
So what was that like on the day that they finally took them completely?
Oh, yeah, that's a sensitive subject.
Like a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's still very sensitive for both of us.
It's hard to talk about.
It's really hard to talk about.
It was awful. I watched them load our children into the car.
Was this at home or is it? Oh, it's at the hospital.
Yep. And drive away. And they didn't even know the girl that came, like, was taking them, didn't even know how to put my son in the car seat. He was screaming. Well, I had to put him in, and he was just screaming.
And I still wasn't allowed at the hospital at this point, so I didn't even get to
around the
see
kids.
that or say goodbye.
My God. That's so horrible.
Watch them drive away. We have no idea where they're going. They didn't tell us where they were going. No idea when we were going to see them again.
They didn't even tell you what place they were going to take them to?
No.
Oh, my God.
Nope.
So just some random person, oh, I'm with so-and-so, I'm going to take your kids, I'm not going to tell you. Yeah. And then they just took off with their kids.
They did take some of my suggestions, because remember, she asked me for 5 people that, I would be okay if my kids went to live with. So I knew it was one of those families. And I got a text shortly after from the family that said, they're coming here. I just want you to know. That's good. So, I mean, yes, that was...
Yeah, but you had to hear secondhand.
Yeah. And still didn't know when I was going to get to see them next, when we were going to get to see them next. Again, I'm still breastfeeding my son, 2 months old. And also, we didn't talk about this, but Sawyer, when they interviewed her, when they asked her, how do your parents punish you? Because they're leading questions. But her response was so angelic and just simple. And she's like, well, they take my iPad. My parents have never spanked me. They don't touch me. I feel safe in my home. And so she watched me out of the back of the car the whole time that they were driving off. And I just can't think about what was going through her brain. But
that's crazy. So then what happened after that?
So we learned that first week that we got to see them one time a week for, 2 hours?
Yes, and that was under supervision within...
at KVC.
KVC, specific.
The foster care company.
Yes, a specific location where we had to go to for 2 hours and just sit in a tiny little boxed room and
no windows,
nothing.
While someone just sitting there watching us. After that visit, it was agreed that we could go to the home where they were as long as the parents were there to watch us and monitor. But I don't even think that they felt very comfortable because they had 2 kids and it upended their life. And so we really didn't do that very much. We found common ground places to meet and see the kids.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
But it wasn't very much.
It was nothing.
You couldn't do like a park or something, or it had to be like a place.
We got to see Sawyer at some of her soccer games.
It was as long as that family, the parents, if you will, were there, we could go. But I mean, they have a life. They're doing things. So it was whenever it was more convenient for them.
Right.
And that was a couple of hours a week, but not even that.
And so they had them for 2 weeks. And at that point, and I don't blame them for this, but they were like, we can't do this anymore. I think when my friend stepped up and said that they would do this for us, nobody ever thought our kids would be taken because they know who we are. And so when it happened, everybody was shocked. And so they had to, her and her husband, they were like, I'm sorry, we can't do this anymore. And so they were moved to the next house, and also friends of ours. And at that house, we could be there as long as they were supervising. I will say, I mean, I actually am going to go ahead and say it's a complete joke. Like, DCF never went to these houses to check them out and make sure that they were safe, ever. They have a questionnaire that's like, is there running water? Is there a toilet? Yeah.
At a majority of places, yes.
Right.
I think a crack house has
exactly.
that.
Yeah. Oh, and they met and gave the families like a lockbox to put their pharmaceuticals in. That was it. That was okay. I guess they're safe for our children now.
Wow. After they ran you through the ringer, they're not gonna.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it. It's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
And that house was they knew who we were. They knew we didn't do this. Also had a small child, and essentially they were like, just move in.
Oh, that's what I was getting ready to ask. That's awesome. Okay.
And we did that for a while, but I think it got a little threatening, like they were scared they were going to get in trouble.
Yeah, I was about to say, because would they have if
they dropped in and like we weren't allowed to spend the night because could be time we'd be alone with the kids. Oh, and so...
But at this point, it's almost like, fuck it, I'm just going to figure out how to go around
We did a lot of that too, for sure. Good. I'm not afraid to say that.
They weren't playing by the rules,
right.
So why the fuck should we?
Oh, I don't blame you. So, not at all.
So we did a lot of that too. And they weren't watching us most of the time. It would just be like we were in our living room with the kids, and that family would be in their living room, and we were kind of just like living separate lives in their home. And after 2 weeks of that, they did a shitty thing. I think they got tired of it because my son, we had to go home every night. We couldn't sleep over. And my son was not sleeping our son was not sleeping through the night. Their son wasn't sleeping through the night. And I think they got tired.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of just coming to us like the first family and saying, we can't do this anymore, they switched on us. All of a sudden, these people started our GoFundMe, okay? And all of a sudden they said, we don't trust Boxy. We think he probably did this.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And we don't feel safe in our home anymore.
That was a brutal time. You know, I didn't really feel like I had many friends in America to begin with, and then what felt like my friends kind of turned their back on me.
Turned their back on you.
It was a brutal time.
And then they just gave our kids up without telling us they were going to do it. Again, we had no idea where they were going. It was horrible. Thankfully, they were going to go in foster care, honestly, but Sawyer's soccer team, there's a mom who works kind of within the system. She works through a church, and she knew we were going through this. And she said, I will take the kids. And she stepped in at the last minute, and they took the kids. But this is 3 homes in a month. And the whole time we're like, why can't my mom take these kids? And they said it's because she coached Sawyer. You know, keep in mind, she coached Sawyer on how to lie. So Yaya can't watch the kids. Laughable. Stupid.
That's crazy.
And after they go through the 3rd house, a week later, they said, oh, Grandma's okay now. Grandma checks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what changed, but okay.
Nothing.
Right.
And so then we're telling Sawyer again, great news, like you get to go with Yaya. And at that point she was like, honestly, she stopped in the middle of this yard. She was like, no. And she just told me, I'm not going anywhere else. And she had a full mental breakdown, screaming at the top of her lungs, crying. You know, she thought people didn't want her. Like what this had done to her is
How old was she?
9.
Oh, yeah.
9.
Yeah. Already hard enough, you know, those years.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Set a whole balance. You know, at that age, we as humans crave a home, you know, a habitat that you can call home. And she didn't have that for six weeks.
Yeah, and routine. And you're just being uplifted, you know. And I understand the first house. You tried. I get it. Kids are difficult. I mean, my second was a colicky baby.
Yeah.
And so she was, I mean, what she put my wife through was insane. Like, all of us, you know, like, I mean, God, I mean, there was nights I just wanted to go sleep outside. Like, that's how bad. Like, she's crying constantly. And so I get that. But the second house, it's like, man, why didn't you just be like, hey, I can't do this? Why would you all of a sudden flip? Did you guys ever figure out what the hell? Like, did you ever talk to them after that?
No, that was a complete betrayal, to be quite frank. And we just cut ties with them and went our separate ways.
Jesus Christ. You would think, like, you know, damn, hey, you know, we tried to help you. Can you just find somewhere else? We'll give you a week, you know, but we took on more than we could chew. Instead of going, all of a sudden, boom. I mean, did you give them any type of...
I got no conversation.
Like, have you tried to, like, rewind back in your head? Like, how did I
to figure it out so much? I didn't even know them. I went to the wedding and helped them set up the wedding. I held their child. I went around and helped them with garage sales, whatever I could. I feel like I gave them nothing to make them think that way in the slightest. And
they turned around. They had like a come to Jesus with me on Halloween. I'll never forget. They sat me down after we did trick-or-treating, and they just said, we think Boxy did something. And it was just like, what? Why all of a sudden? What's going on? And one of their reasons is because every time he's around Finn, he just wants to hold him the whole time. Well,
yeah, I mean, that's what a dad does. I mean, that's insane.
But again, I'm like a caged animal. These people have control of my children. I feel like if I argue with them, what are they going to do? So it's just like I have to like play along and be scared and say, well, what do I need to do? What are we going to do? And I was like, okay, I'll tell him he can't come anymore. And I did. I mean, I had to sit him down and tell him all this. They had gone already to the caseworkers to tell them this, which could have screwed him over. Thankfully, our caseworkers...
Yeah, because you guys are already kind of playing out... Yeah, so you're like, oh, fuck, okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get
what
you
mean. It could have really hurt him.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the caseworkers, they laughed about it. It was like, well, the KVC caseworkers, they were like, these people started your GoFundMe. They wrote you letters about how great you were. This doesn't check out. I think everybody in the situation knew what was not being said is they just couldn't handle it anymore. Yeah. And it was a lot easier to say, Boxxy's done this, that he's evil, he's a child abuser. And
yeah, because what did they tell the caseworker?
They don't feel safe in their home anymore with Boxxy.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's super vague. Okay. You just don't feel safe. Why?
Right.
That's what I would ask.
Well, I think they alluded to because they think he could have hurt Finn.
I know, but it's like if I was a caseworker, I'd be like, okay, well, give me the reasons of why you think that. Exactly. Not that he likes to hold his child. You know what I mean? That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
But all right.
It was silly. It was very silly.
So then they go to the third your kids go to the third house, and that's your mother's house.
Well, the third house was the soccer family.
Oh, the soccer family. Yeah, soccer family.
Yep, and that was good. She was great. She let me, again, she worked at the church, so I went there every day to feed Finn as many times as I wanted. She'd let me be there.
That's awesome.
They had a little more, like they weren't letting us come freely to their home, so there was more boundaries, which was okay. But after a week, they let them go with my mom. And they had to go live with my mom in her 1-bedroom apartment, 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment. And we had thrown out even, can they just move into our house? Like we'll swap houses.
Right.
The common sense thing, let Sawyer go back to her room. You guys, and they were nope. Oh, keep in mind, they still haven't been to our house at this point. Right?
Wow.
Our children were taken and nobody had ever even come to look at our house.
To investigate the house?
No.
Oh, okay. Right.
No. So,
yeah. And I'm guessing the whole swapping houses just made too much sense for them.
Probably.
Right. Okay.
Probably. And so at Yaya's house, my mom, we had unlimited access as long as Yaya was there, and it was a 1-bedroom apartment, so it's not like anything's going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
It can't be monitored.
Yeah.
And we did that.
From November through until
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve?
Yeah.
Yes.
We got the kids back. We convinced them finally. I mean, I was probably the squeakiest wheel they ever met because I was emailing every day, like sending them things. This is the trauma you're doing if you guys are wrong, and advocating for the kids. And finally they're like, okay, you guys can switch. No overnights. Yada, yada, yada.
Switch what? Houses?
Houses.
Okay.
So my mom moved into our house.
Yeah, it's almost like you got to make it their idea. Like, are you sure?
Yeah, right.
If you ever think about maybe switching property. This is
literally.
my idea. This some things I picked up from
Did
you.
you say that? I think you said that in a past conversation. That it'd be a good idea.
The ego on people drives me nuts. It's almost, I get tired of that dance of, you can't just have a good suggestion because God forbid you say it to somebody who, hold on, this is my job. This is what I'm supposed, it's like you got to make it feel like it's their damn idea, it's just so stupid. It's such a game.
Again, let's just bring it all back. We're talking about kids.
Right.
At the end of the day, and it's like, I don't feel like our kids were ever considered in anything.
Right.
Not a single decision that was made in this entire process, not once were the kids considered. And so my mom was a trooper, really. She came in. We didn't move completely because I work from home. So it was just like my mom would come over when the kids weren't in school or daycare. And we do dinner and all that. We were supposed to leave at the end of the night. And we did that for a little bit. Our neighbor actually ended up opening her house to us.
Oh.
Right over the fence neighbor. She was like, this is dumb.
Nice.
I have a guest room.
Mm-hmm.
You can stay with me as long as you need. And we would hop the fence every night. We'd put the kids down to bed.
9:00 and hop over the fence. Sleep through the back door, hop into the guest room, go to sleep, wake up at 6, hop the fence, go back home.
That's got to be so surreal. That's just insane.
It's a movie. I mean, this is a movie.
Yeah. You're probably wondering every morning, like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, is this real?
Yeah. Halfway, after we get into our house, we learn that the caseworker, the investigator, this great investigator who did all this essentially to us, she was fired and was like, oh, why? But they wouldn't tell us why.
Of course not.
We got a few hints. I think she was probably, she did a lot of things that I think were not proper protocol. No. I got a little bit of hints that maybe she was just sitting outside of our house sometimes or driving by, and we got a couple of, it was noted that your car's in the driveway with Yaya's car, and our KVC caseworker, who was great, I will give her so much credit. The minute she met us, the minute she came into our house, the minute she saw us interact with our children, she was our biggest advocate.
Oh, nice.
And she was fighting for us. But she was like, yeah, because they have permission to be around their kids when grandma's around.
Right.
But you could tell this woman, we did Christmas cards that year. We had our friend took our photo for Christmas cards. The investigator tried to get us in trouble for taking a Christmas card photo. And yeah, it was just like she was looking for anything and everything to, I don't know. She was a dog with a bone, and she did not want us to have our kids back.
Oh my God.
And then we did that until, and all in the interim, it's like I found a new lawyer, kick-ass defense attorney in Kansas. Her name's Cheryl Pilot, and her specialty is getting people out of prison that are wrongfully put there.
Yeah.
And taking down bad cops. Like, that's her thing.
Really?
So she had never worked a case like this, but...
Is she local?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And it was a learning curve. Family court's a whole nother beast. Criminal court, family court, not the same.
Really? How?
Oh, nothing. Everything that happens in family court, again, you don't have due process. That wouldn't have happened in criminal court.
Right.
We would have a chance to prove our innocence.
Right.
Not in family court.
Huh.
And everything happens behind essentially a veil of secrecy in family court. You're not allowed to really know anything. It's like you have no rights. They're stripped.
Wow.
It's gross. I hope you never end up there.
I hope not either.
But we're like, all of these months, we're just trying to be as normal as possible. We have monthly, meetups with our caseworkers. They give us a laundry list of tasks that we have to complete before we can get our children back. And they're like, he has to have a therapist, you have to have a therapist, the kids have to have a therapist, and then you have to do family therapy. And then we had to get a domestic violence assessment. And I mean, it's all money. Again, money.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Something that was interesting, we got our domestic violence assessment that were like, $275 a pop? And she's doing them and laughing at the end. And she's just like, I have to tell you, I mean, you guys, it's laughable that you're here. It's clear you're not abusers. And she goes, DCF often, when I do these, if I give them something that they don't like, they'll throw it out. And they'll send you to somebody else for another assessment. And that's just like a way to cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yeah, make sure everyone gets paid.
Yeah.
And forgive me if I missed this. So you guys had already had a court hearing already and had been proven guilty, or no?
There was never, no.
So nothing. This is all, that's insane.
Nothing.
Yeah, that doesn't.
To this day, we've never had a trial.
All of that, they mandated all that for you guys to do and never been proven guilty.
Never a trial once.
Oh my God.
Yep. Just hearings, just every time the guardian had lied to him, because we had every other month, we'd have to go for another hearing, which a hearing is essentially just a check-in so the judge knows what's going on. And all that is the GAL standing up and saying what he thinks should happen. Never once met the kids. Not once. Not even till the very end, the very last hearing where I brought them in, we took them in and said, think you should meet the children that you've been advocating for this entire time. But that's it. The hearings were a joke. It was like we would take time out of our day. You go in for 5 minutes and it's just like, all right, keep doing what you're doing.
What does the judge say out of all this after reviewing?
She was horrible. She was horrible.
Really?
She was
not a nice human.
Yes.
She assumed we were guilty too, and it was just.
I mean, isn't she the one that's supposed to review the case? And
I don't think she read anything, frankly.
I always wonder that.
Except for the petition, that initial petition. I think all of this happened based off that initial petition.
Yeah.
And that'll be proven by the fact that you literally sent her over a whole bunch of paperwork. And
Not
you
the
remember
judge.
Another judge? You sent her over. What was it? You sent her over for one of the hearings. You sent her over some information, and we got there, and she said she hadn't even looked at it.
Oh, not me. I guess, so my lawyer. Sorry, I thought you meant me.
Gotcha.
I have never sent, until recently, I sent her an email. But my lawyer, so I told you, we had the early second opinions that said it looked like he had rickets.
Which you would think, if you have cancer, are you going to go off the one opinion, or are you going to get 2 other opinions on that? Because, I've had an individual on this show. She discussed about her husband's cancer diagnosis, and they went and got multiple opinions on it, and even then they were still wrong. on where his cancer was. So you would think in a case like this, they would be like, okay, well, yeah, go ahead and get a couple other opinions. Like, I don't see the harm in that. What's the harm in that? Yeah. We're just making sure that we're crossing all our, dotting all our I's, crossing all our T's here, and seeing if these two other people who are not associated with you see the same thing as you. Because if they don't, then we know we have some problems
Exactly.
here. Yeah.
Exactly. And we were trying, so for months, we were trying to get a second opinion. But to do that, to get a proper second opinion that is, appreciated in court, it actually, you can submit as evidence. You have to collect all the medical files. You have to collect everything and hand it to the second opinion expert so that they can look at, like, what do the birth records look like? What do the maternal, OBGYN records look like? What are the parental health records look like? They want the whole picture. And then what do the records from Children's Mercy Hospital look like? And guess what? To this day, we still don't have full records from Children's Mercy.
Wow. To this day?
Our lawyers have asked for them. They will not hand them over. And in every single case I get in my inbox, that is the commonality. They do not release records.
What the hell? This is becoming a common thing nowadays. Release the damn files, right? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Dude,
I like that. I'm going to make that as a hashtag.
I don't understand this. It's so crazy. It just, hey, you have to, because they, if you ask for them, they have to release them to you,
They're
right?
They're supposed to.
Oh,
but somehow they're getting away with not.
Oh, my God.
Because we still don't have a full record for our son's stay at that hospital for a week. They keep giving us the same, 300 pages. And, the lawyers that we're talking to, it's like, no. If your child was in a hospital for a week, you're going to have thousands of pages. Right. And you can also clearly look through them because I've digested and poured over those records. And you can see what's missing. There's so much missing. Wow. And so then it's like, what are you hiding?
I don't know. If they do send you, it's probably going to be redacted.
I was just about to say that's that typical, redaction. Yeah. That's how they cover themselves.
That's insane.
So after we get the 300 pages that we do, we get a second opinion expert who is a Harvard-educated radiologist, pediatric radiologist. And she says... essentially, boom, boom, does not, fracture does not exist, fracture does not exist, fracture does not exist. And it's just nope, nope, nope. He ended up having one rib fracture. He did. And then he had, maybe it was one or two rib fractures. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Two that she couldn't see.
Oh, yes. There was two that she couldn't be certain of, but there was clearly one. And then his right radius was also fractured. But then she noted that his bones did not look, clearly there was something called cupping in his bones, and that happens when there's not enough nutrients in the bones. And so there was something going on. Unfortunately, because they never ran any bone tests, we'll never know what was happening. But it was concluded most of the fractures never existed. The thing in the back of his throat was a viral ulcer because he did have a virus. Wow. And it would make sense because it would have probably bled a little bit into his stomach. And that's what caused the dark red blood when he puked.
Yeah. No, what made sense was you went in the middle of the night and tried to, what did they say?
Put his finger down his throat to slice.
That's insane. But yet... an ulcer is what it really was.
A viral ulcer
is
what it was.
Yeah. They probably looked at that. No possibility.
Well, this is the laughable part now that I get these other stories. Or the mom, they said, nobody else can read scans here. The things that they were calling fractures were actually bone growth. So babies, especially a rapidly growing baby, the end of their bones, you can see the new bone growth. And they said all of those were fractures from where my husband had pulled him.
Wow.
Pulled or tugged
on him. So they were wrong. It was a complete misdiagnosis. We were able to prove that. I sent the second report to all the caseworkers that I could. I was like, look, see? Here's what's going on. Also, our own pediatrician found that our son has craniosynostosis, which is deadly if it's not caught in time. It's when one of the fontanelles on a baby's skull closes too soon. Oh, yeah, the soft part on top of their head. Yes, exactly, because it doesn't give the brain enough room to grow if the skull has stopped growing. Right. So it's very bad. If you don't catch it soon enough, it could be detrimental. And you usually have to get surgery if they find this. And so we had to find a neurologist, and we had to go to Wichita to get away from anybody connected to CMH. And, you know, that's just a whole nother layer of, you guys didn't even look for this.
Yeah.
What if we wouldn't have found
something
that?
that was actually life-threatening.
Right?
Right.
So he has that. We believe that he also has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which we're finding commonly shows up as fractures in babies because it's cartilage. Ehlers-Danlos is a cartilage issue. And so when you're having cartilage problems and bones rubbing together, sometimes that can show in infants up like fractures. And we can't test him for that until he's 6. But I have it for sure. And he shows a bunch of signs that we just haven't had the money to test him for yet. But so there's, long story short, we collected enough data to prove our innocence finally. And I'm sitting here like, let's go to trial. Like, I want to go to trial. I want to prove my innocence. I want to prove his innocence. I want to show that we didn't do this. Our lawyers didn't want to do that. It's too expensive to go to trial. They wanted to talk the DA on the case into dropping it. And I get that that's the easiest thing to do, and that's fine, but we are 6 months into this now, 7 months into this. You know, we have clear evidence in hand that our son was never abused, and nobody's moving very fast to help us prove our innocence. It was maddening. It was maddening. And so we get to the first hearing after we have this report in hand. You know, we've given it to the DA. He has agreed. Okay. You've convinced me. I'm ready to drop it, but we're not even going to show the judge because we don't want anybody to know that Children's Mercy, he didn't say this, but I mean, this is like the context.
Read between the lines. Yeah.
We don't want anybody to know that Children's Mercy made this mistake. They are the state's witness for cases, and we cannot tarnish that credibility. And so I'm just going to say, I think we should drop it. And he got the GAL on board, who was worthless. But the GAL agreed to drop it. All our KVC caseworkers agreed to drop it. Everybody was on board. So we get to the hearing. He says, you know, I think we have enough. We want to drop this. You know, parents have done everything asked of them. They've been great. And she goes, no. She goes, somebody's going to have to prove to me why this boy had so many fractures in his body, why he was so hurt. And nobody. Not one person in that room said, well, we have a second opinion report here. They just, okay.
Wow.
So, yes, we were reunified at that time. We could be in our home living with our kids again. But we did not have custody of them. The judge didn't even want to see the proof that we were innocent. And we just kept, okay, come back next month for another hearing. Let's do this dog and pony show again. And I honestly think we probably would have done that for as long as they could have drug it out. But the next one, we kind of had some hope that maybe again, if the DA showed up and said, okay, we're ready to drop it, that she would be willing to do it. And then I would say a little strategically, maybe a little brazen, I started talking to the reporter from the Kansas City Star. Because I knew I was going to, as soon as I could, shout about this as loud as possible. And my lawyer, Cheryl, was friends with the woman who wrote our story. She's a Pulitzer Prize winning author. She's amazing. But she made the connection. And then I just sat at a table and told her our story. And she investigated and she dug in. She got all the records. I mean, thorough job. But she was like, I want to come to the next hearing. We're like, okay, it's a gamble because the judge is feisty. But she did. She came to that last hearing, and I think we were all kind of holding our breath to see how she would react. And you go around in family court. You have to go around and, like, introduce yourself, who's sitting in this courtroom. And so when we get to her, she's like, well, I'm Melinda with the Kansas City Star. And oh, my gosh, she exploded. Just, what? You brought a reporter into my courtroom?
What's wrong with that?
You can't. It's illegal to have media, like any reporters in a family courtroom. Again, they hide behind a veil of secrecy what they're doing.
That's crazy. I mean, I get it. You could have a journalist in there that could sway what actually happened in court. But, like, I don't know, to completely ban it. I don't know. It just sounds odd to me. It sounds fishy. You know what
I
mean?
agree. Like, let's just question it. Maybe let's say that it
Or
sounds
not
like
even
something
that.
you should question.
If the journalists were to happen to write a segment that didn't align, then release your information. You know what I mean? Like release, and then be able to compare the two and let other people judge, what happened. Right. But yeah, I don't. That's wild. So she kicked her out.
Oh, she kicked her out. Oh. And then yelled at me. My lawyer let me take the fall for all of it. Wow. And I don't know, it felt like 5 minutes of solid rant.
Yeah, this lawyer sounds like a piece of shit. I'm guessing you guys don't talk to this lawyer.
No. I love her. And I do. I love her. I think this is a lot of lawyers, frankly. Wow. They play the game. And I think
that's not cool.
No, it's not. Yeah. And I think it caught her off guard, and she didn't know how to respond to it, and she didn't want to say anything that was going to hurt us worse. Mm-hmm. And so the judge just yelled at me for a solid 5 minutes at least. I don't know. And I finally just said, "Can I talk?" I'm like, "I'm sorry. Nobody told me that it was." I truly did not know it was like illegal.
Yeah,
it was
put
against.
Put a sticker out on the front door that says "No media" or something.
Yeah, I knew it might make her mad, but I didn't know it was like, no, forbidden. Absolutely forbidden. You can't do this. And so I just said, "I'm sorry. She's out of here." Like, okay.
Oh my God.
Didn't do that on purpose. And then she sat down, and it was like you could see the light in her brain, and she said out loud, she goes, "Well, what was it?" It's like,
I was going to say, I think you could see the cogs ticking, to be quite frank. Yeah. And she realized that the severity of how, to be frank, I think we just been pushed to our limit. And I think it was a smart move to do that, because obviously she felt threatened by it, if you will, because you could see the cogs ticking, and then suddenly it was like a change, full circle.
So now she felt like she had to do her job now. Instead of just sitting back.
Immediate change. She's like, "Well, that's going to be written about." And she's like, "Okay, I'm ready to drop the case."
Wow.
Right then and there.
You can't write this. This is a fucking movie, dude.
I know.
That's insane. Oh my God.
So that was it. It was dropped informally.
Literally that day she kicked her out. Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
It was informally dropped. We had to be under supervision until September, okay? And we had monthly visits just to make sure, we weren't doing anything inappropriate. Right. And then at the end of September, it was released that we could have custody of our children again.
Oh, man. Well, shit, if there's any tips out there, make sure you bring a journalist with you to the court.
Right? Family court.
Yeah, act like you don't know. Yeah, test it out. Maybe the judge will finally do their fucking job. Yeah, that's insane. Oh, my God. So then after that, it was finally over. The nightmare was done.
Yeah, I will know, because then we have the fallout for our family. And what does that look like? We're still paying lawyer fees. That broke us. Yeah. We had a GoFundMe, and we were lucky that GoFundMe was started. I think we got $15,000 probably, but
yeah, we I can only imagine how much that covered.
Way more in debt than $15,000. So we'll probably be paying lawyers' fees for a long time.
Yeah, and over nothing.
Yeah.
Over nothing at the end.
I mean, at the end of the day, anybody, right? if we'd never even taken our son to Children's Mercy on that night, he would have been perfectly fine. He would have been carrying on living his life, and we'd never had this trauma, this whole issue. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it is probably, when you try to look at the silver lining, my wife has done so much research, so much pushing it now that, like you said at the beginning when we were chatting, you weren't even aware of it, and now you are aware of it, and you're like, how the fuck is this happening right underneath my nose? Exactly. So then, we went through it, unfortunately, but we are able to now bring more awareness, hence, why
which I do want to give you credit. Like what you just told me today, I mean, beautifully laid out.
Thank
you. Just everything. I mean, it's like drinking from a fire hose now, all the information. But I mean, really what I hope is that, a family that's either going through this right now, or an individual that's going through this, or somebody who hasn't gone through it, to be cautious and aware that this is a possibility.
No, you're right.
Seeing your story and understanding your rights, and understanding these loopholes and this weird inner circle that's going on, and the money that's being funneled, and what you can and can't do. I mean, it's just, I couldn't imagine how you guys felt. going through this? I mean, having to learn this every step of the way, because I'm guessing before this, you had no idea.
Nothing.
Right? Yeah.
I always say I feel like I have maybe like a baby minor in law and a baby minor in medicine, and
no, yeah.
You know, it's wild. But I do think never in a million years when I sat down in front of that camera and just after going through it, you're never heard. I don't think we ever got to speak at one single hearing. We never got to use our voice.
Really?
You never talk. And it's just like, I just want someone to hear me. That's how, I don't know if you feel that way, but.
I mean, that was definitely out of my comfort zone, but that's obviously why we did the Fox News thing as well, was to just get it out there and let people know. I think that was our time to speak and have a voice. You know, you put into that situation and, you know, as you mentioned, you're like an animal in a cage and you've got nowhere to go and no one to speak to.
Yeah, so with the Kansas City Star, so they ended up writing an art afterwards. Is that what happened after the hearing?
She released it after that hearing. It launched in July.
So you guys were able to sit down with her and give her your whole side of the story?
We had already done it before she showed up in court. I sat down and spent hours with her, and then she came to our home once. She came to Finney's first birthday.
Right.
She was very engaged. And what's so funny is Kansas City Star, I mean, again, this woman is a Pulitzer Prize writer. They made her put her piece in the opinion section because they were worried about Children's Mercy.
Oh my God,
right?
Really?
Like everybody in this town's scared of this hospital, which to me is like red flag.
Right.
But
yeah,
right?
sure. Yeah,
Right?
if even the Kansas City Star, I mean, and I've seen a lot of the articles, I mean, some that I don't agree with and some that I do, but it's like even you're scared, like you're having to, like, because I'm guessing the opinion is that like, I'm guessing some
well, it's like this is just this writer's opinion.
Yeah, it's just an opinion. There's no fact at all into this.
But what's funny is it was opinion, but they put it on the front page of the paper.
Oh,
so the little opinion clause, to me, in our right, she never told us this, but to me, when you read into that and it's like, it's covering their butts because at the end of the day, they can say, well, this is just this writer's opinion.
Yeah. But that sucks, though, because it wasn't just an opinion.
Well, and she dug in.
Yeah, you had a ton of proof. You had a ton of second opinions. And, you know, I just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you know how big the Kansas City Star is here in Kansas City. I mean, if they're worried and they're supposed to be journalists.
Well, and then I think, again, when I sat down to tell our story, it was just to be heard because we hadn't been heard. And then, like, within 24 hours, it hit 1 million views. And I'm like, I didn't know to expect that. And then my inbox is like, it happened to me too. It happened to me too. It happened to me too. Wow. Let me tell you my story. Story after story. And it was, I'm just reading them to him, like, where we're sitting in bed. I'm like, listen to this, listen to this. And it was just like, oh no. This is a real problem I had no idea we were stepping into. I thought we were the anomaly in this.
And it's not just, you know, CMH. It's literally international. We've got people in Australia. Small world, the gentleman that committed suicide through it, unfortunately, his partner was actually a lady that I went to school with.
In the UK?
Really?
So it's happening everywhere.
That's crazy. I'm guessing other larger hospitals in these countries.
Children's hospitals.
Yeah, children's hospitals, they're dealing, which I guess it makes sense why there's so many cases coming out of one big hospital. I mean, because think about it. I mean, they're kind of the monopoly over
They are
children's
the
care.
monopoly.
Yeah, and so with that comes power, but also comes a lot of fucking tragedy that's coming out of there because, you know, they have a ton of stories like yours and they're all in this one hub.
Yeah.
You know, like there's not too many other children's hospitals that are able to pop up, one, right, because they can't, you know, that's one. And then two, it's because, I mean, Children's Mercy has already established their place here in Kansas City. And it's like, okay, well, this is the place that we go to. But I mean, with having that power, it's like, okay, I get it that you don't want to come off as like, I get it being incorrect could tarnish your image in a sense, but I think we all know, like, we're human beings. We're going to make mistakes.
Right.
I think it's more noble to admit those mistakes, to just come out. Hey, clearly we made a mistake. Don't let it go 6 months down the fucking road. But like the first month, clearly we made a mistake. We're very sorry. This is what we showed. This is what we thought. This is what we came up with. After having 2 or 3 other opinions, we're seeing differences. So we're going to have to throw this out because, you know, this is conflicting. So I don't understand why if you do that, all of a sudden you lose credibility. To me, that's very noble. That's saying, hey, you did your job. Your success rate is, I'm going to make up a number here. Let's say 85% or 90%. So we understand that 10%, there's going to be, you know, some cases where you may not have got it completely right. But just come out there and say it. That effective communication that we talked about earlier, that might have been off camera, but ripping that Band-Aid off quickly, talking, you know, getting it out there, trying to do your job, trying to help, trying to, you know, be as efficient and right as possible instead of just going through the motions and just, I did this check, I did this check, I did this check. Okay, yeah, you abused your kids. Yeah. Like, what the are you serious right now? You know?
Yeah.
The outdated processes that we discussed, you know, and them not wanting to revamp that and, you know, to fix that and to be with the times and be with the new science and the medical information that's coming out.
Well, not only that, but I always say all the time, again, at the end of the day, it's about children, right? They're trying to save children, but where does that love of children stop?
Right.
Because think about my children. Our son, like, there is so much research to back up the detriment of pulling a breastfeeding child away from their mother as an infant at 2 months old. Okay, what about him now? He wakes up in the middle of the night with night terrors a lot. And we think that probably has something to do with it. You know, he's got issues with being very far away from, especially me.
Well, those months and years are important for a child to be with its mother, you know, especially breastfeeding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have my daughter who was old enough to speak for herself. They ignored her. So think about what that does to her, the complex of, okay, I told my truth. They took me out of my home anyway. Like, I'm not going to trust the cops I talked to. I'm not going to trust these people who said they were here to help. You know, telling the truth didn't really do me any good. Like, the complex going on in her head. We all have PTSD. I can't imagine. I have nightmares thinking about what in the hell we would do if kids get hurt.
Yeah.
Sawyer plays
kids fall
soccer.
Down, kids play rough.
Finn bumps into everything all the time. Like, what happens if he gets hurt again? What happens where they'll never take a child abuser out of his medical chart, ever. They refuse. Wow. Even though we've proven that we didn't do this, Children's Mercy will never change his chart. So that will follow us.
Any hospital you go to?
Yes, anywhere we go now.
And so now all of a sudden a red flag is automatically
immediately.
put up.
So what do we do?
Oh, my God.
And it's just the trauma for everyone has been enormous. And it's just like, really, who are you helping?
And then another thing, too, that I was thinking, it's like every baby is going to be different. Every child is going to be different. Like you said, look at the number of medical diagnoses that your child has had, like 2 or 3 of them that you discussed here. How are you supposed to treat that the same as like maybe a perfectly healthy baby, like with any type of medical issues at all? Like, how do you treat those two the same?
Yeah. Medicine's gray.
Yeah.
It's not black and white.
Exactly.
So to try to get convictions by saying this is black and white abuse, again, common sense. I would say, where did the common sense go when we walked into that hospital? Because it was not in the room with us at any time.
I tell people all the time, like, the older I get and the more I talk with people, I'm like, there's more, like, I call them bots. Like, they're just like what are they called? NPCs? Non-player characters? Yeah. They're just walking around like in Grand Theft Auto, dude, just walking around. And I see it all the time. It's just people going through the motions. And I get it. You know, times are hard right now. The economy sucks. Like, everyone's going through a lot of their issues. And so they're just trying to go through the motions, do their job, go home to do whatever they do after work. And but, man, when you're in those fields where it can literally affect a human being, you really have to think about what you're getting into. I discussed this even about daycares or teachers, or like, you have to really sit there and have a heart-to-heart with yourself and go, is this for me? Am I going to put my all into this? And if you can't do that, and even law enforcement, doctors, nurses, like, if you can't do that and you're just going to treat this like a job, this might not be the profession for you. You might need to go do something else, because in this line of work, people are affected in that. And if you don't see that and you don't care, you shouldn't be in it. You know?
I think that's like a core problem at any of the issues we're having right now is humanity is, empathy is gone. I think because we're all struggling, you get in survival mode and you stop thinking or caring about how your actions affect others.
Right.
And
it doesn't help all the other things that are, like you said, the economy sucks.
Exactly.
Everything, everyone's just trying to survive right now the best they can. Yeah. Everything is just greed and more money and more power. And how do we do it faster and cheaper? And, fuck the people that are working. We don't care. We just money. And what comes out of that? Yeah. It's just, oh man, it's ugly.
It is really ugly.
Very ugly. So you have a TikTok.
Yes.
Okay. Your videos, your content's on there are great. I'm really glad you're speaking up for people and really, I thought that was very noble. Like, not only are you discussing your story, but you're trying to help others. I think that's great.
Trying.
It's something that I wish more people would look at and find like stuff of what you do as like a trend. You know what I mean? I see so many stupid trends out here. It's like, man, I wish something that was more positive and more like healthy for society would start to become trends. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I really hope more people go to your page and more people listen to these stories because they can happen to you, And even me, like after being previewed to this world, now when I go to the doctor's office, I'm going to be a little worried. You know what I mean? My kids like to play rough. They're in sports. It's like that could easily, what is that bruise on their leg? All of a sudden now I'm being fucking questioned, and interrogated. And I hope more people recognize that. I hope more people do their homework or even support. You know what I mean? So much stupid shit I see out there that people like and they support and they'll share. And it's like stuff like what you do. I mean, that needs to be passed on. Like communities have always thrived when information is given around to them and people uplift those people that they see like you're doing something that can help. Rather than these catchy trends that don't do shit and they're just like, they're fun, but it doesn't do anything. Support people like you and what you guys are doing, and others too. We talked about Andrea as well. It's like, we need to be able to uplift these people and make this popular, make this something that people see value in because it's very valuable. What are some of the, you said you've been interviewed at Kansas City Star, Fox 4 as well. You've been on some podcasts as well. So you have quite a bit of content out there that people can go see. I've noticed your shirt too, Innocence is Enough.
Innocence Project, yeah. Okay. They are a great advocate for families. There's actually a woman that our Midwest, because Innocence Project's a national, organization, but our Midwest Innocent Project, they do a lot of good just locally. And there was a woman who they helped get out of prison, exonerate. And she was put in there for Shaken Baby, and it wasn't proven until, she was in there for decades. Wow. Yeah. And then finally it was proven that it never happened.
Did she get a settlement check on that? No. No, nothing.
You can't sue.
Really?
You cannot sue.
Wow.
Now I think there might be some. Yeah. It's hard. The law is.
Because how some people they'll do like 20 years for murder and they'll get like a check.
But that's murder.
Yeah, and it always pisses me off because that comes from taxpayer dollars. Take that shit out of your pensions. All of you guys.
Your tax dollars are paying for all this too.
Yeah, I know. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, but. There's a case. Right now, there's a huge case happening. The Robert Roberson case. It's made national headlines as well because he's been sitting on death row for years for Shaken Baby case. And the medical examiner, he's got people that were involved initially coming out and saying, we got it wrong. This man did not kill his child. Yeah. And they still won't take him off death row.
Oh, my God.
So that's kind of how dug in people are on this. And I know, again, this is not the best subject to try to make a trend because the subject matter makes a lot of people feel uncomfortable. And
when it has to do with children, ain't it? Yeah, it's the same thing like when I discuss like pedophiles and child sexual assault cases.
Right.
It's like, I get it. It makes you feel weird and you don't even want to imagine that happens. But it does at a larger rate than what you think.
Right.
Tim Tebow has been on plenty of platforms where he's shown the map and all the child pornography consumed in America.
It's really
It's
bad.
fucking sick. And I don't know why we tend to want to bury that and like act as if, and I get it. It
makes you feel uncomfortable.
It does. But out of diving into something that's uncomfortable will give you growth, and with that growth, you can protect your family better, your children better. You know, you can help others. You know, to be able to be cautious. I don't know why. I don't know why, if we care so much about children, why aren't these things discussed more? Why aren't these things, why aren't penalties for these cases increased? Like, I mean, there's people that will traffic drugs that get longer sentencing than some guy who molested a 5-year-old. I mean, it's insane.
It's insane.
Almost makes you feel like, you know, we're kind of being ran by, you know, this country's being ran by pedophiles. But
I mean,
that's just my remark.
No,
you know?
I
Or
guess
maybe, and actually the entire world, really.
I guess where most of those victims came from, foster care.
Yeah, I know. And
so it's a pipeline.
I've seen that, and I've also seen how like children of child sexual cases tend to be homeless too. Like, there's a lot of things that come out of that. And yeah, I've heard about the foster care programs. I'm not going to say all of them, but you know, we're speaking in general terms. It's like there are some out there that, you know, and maybe more than what you think, that are, these children are living in horrible conditions, and they are not safe.
Right.
And we think they are, but they're not.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's horrible. And I would, the only advice I can give to someone who's listening to this right now is that don't hide from it. With the information that you're going to watch and going to listen to, you're going to protect yourself.
Yeah.
You know, knowledge is power, you know, and without that knowledge, you're going to fall victim just like everybody else before you that didn't know either.
Yeah.
Imagine if you would have had all this knowledge you acquired over what you had to go through prior. You probably would have saved yourself a lot of headaches. But you know, unfortunately, you had to learn this way. And then not only that, you didn't keep that information to yourself only. You're spreading it to everybody else. And that, I think that's key. I think that's a beautiful use of social media. You know, it can be a very ugly place. It can be a very stupid place, but it can also be a very helpful tool as well, you know.
Absolutely.
So I completely admire what you guys are doing. Is there anything else like that you guys are working on right now, or is there anything else you want to talk about? Like you have down the pipeline of like maybe people you're working with or content that you're creating? Yeah,
right now my content, I'm trying to bring the humanized piece to this because it's a stigmatized thing, and I want to destigmatize the conversation.
What do you mean by that? It's a stigmatized thing.
Nobody wants to question child abuse, and nobody wants to question people who call themselves specialists in finding child abuse. And so it's a tough conversation to have. But again, I've made a career in PR and advertising, and what I will tell you is if a message makes you feel uncomfortable, that means you should question it more.
Agreed.
Not just agree to it, because it's made you to feel a certain way for a very strategical reason. So I'm trying to humanize the issue. I will continue as long as these stories keep coming in, and I have a feeling it's going to happen for a while. I'll keep telling them on my platform. But my goal, my pie in the sky dream actually is right now across the world, not just nationally, because this is a global issue, we've got great, anytime parents go through this, I would say majority of the time a mother comes out of this and they're fuming, they're raging, they just had their child taken, and they start a project. There's dads too, but I would say there's a lot of moms, and like a 501c3 gets started to help people. And so now we have, you know, hundreds of these entities floating around the world, and they're all doing similar work, but it's not a concerted effort. It's not together. And my next goal is, I've started the Honest Diagnosis Project, and I just want to be the movement. I want to bring the thing that I don't want to take the credit. Honestly, my name doesn't have to be on it, but I just want to be the umbrella that we all can agree, like, this is our one thing, this is our message of why we're doing this, and it needs to be the same no matter who you are and what you're asked. it's got to be the same because we have to be together. So that's kind of like my next big goal. I'm working right now on a website with some people to try to be a tool for lawyers who get these cases and have no idea what they're doing. They've never seen anything like this because that happens every day.
Yeah, you got to be specific for sure on lawyers. Yeah,
exactly. So this website's like a tool for laws that have been passed. For example, New Jersey Supreme Court just said that they will no longer hear shaken baby cases because it's been proven so hard that it is junk science that they are not going to hear it. They don't want to convict people. It's out. So that's huge. Yeah. But not a lot of people know that. So that's what this website, it houses all the case law if you need to learn. Also for medical professionals, because we need more medical professionals who aren't scared to say, wait just a second, like let's give this a second thought. So they have tools on all the biomechanical research, everything I'm telling you about, it's right there in one place. So I'm working with a group of people on that to hopefully get it launched by the summer. And it's just called Debunking Shaken Baby Syndrome. And then I'm working with the Kansas legislature. And actually, I was just telling Boxy on the way in, I was sitting in on a child welfare committee meeting today. And I had taken them a bunch of suggestions. Like, you have this law that pays for this to happen, pays the child abuse pediatricians, keep it, because we want to catch abuse. But I want you to work, let's work these common sense things into the law. And it's like mandatory second opinions, like we're talking about, okay, let's get a second opinion from an outside doctor, not affiliated with the accusing hospital.
For sure. Conflict of interest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's going to be paid for by this grant too, so that parents are not having to pay for it out of pocket. It's things like the accusing hospital has to release medical files within 30 days. They cannot sit on them for years and years and years and never release them. And then the third thing that I was telling you about, I just heard this today and I got so excited because I had no idea it was actually being introduced as a reform to the bill.
Do you have a website?
I'm working on an Honest Diagnosis Project website.
And I know because this has been in
this has been
2 year?
A year and a half. And
But you do have plans to work on something like that?
Yes, that will be, that's on the horizon.
Because it'd be great, because not only do you know everything pretty much in your videos, which you have a ton, so they can go on there and check those out, but also it'd be great too for you to be able to break that stuff down on like a blog or something on your website for people to be able to go for information.
Yeah, I mean, it's a coalition of us, and once you're in it again, it's like your family, and so I'm working with a bunch of other parents to do a lot of great things. There's talks about podcasts, but the main goal right now is how do we bring it together? How do we make ourselves like a united front? And how do we get more attention to people who are at policy? We have to change policy because policy like mandated reporter immunity is what's protecting accountability. Like these people have no accountability.
Right. Yeah.
And so lots of projects on the horizon. But I would just tell people, dig in. You can come to my page. I teach a lot about this on TikTok. And I've just started posting my stuff. I got a Facebook account. I haven't had one for so long, but I just repost all my content on there too. So
the more avenues, the better.
Too. Yeah. Like I'm an open book. I'm happy to send resources. You have questions, I'll give you what you need.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Also, too, just to touch on that umbrella, it's something I've harped on a lot, especially in the medical field. Like sometimes I wonder, it's like, can you guys not create some sort of convention you guys all fly out to at some point, or at least the head people of your guys' hospital, and talk amongst one another and show the research and the data that you guys have, so that way we don't have to wonder which hospital to go to if they're going to actually diagnose us right? Like, how hard is that? I don't understand. I get it. Once you have a lot of people trying to weigh in on opinion like that, it can get messy. Totally get that. But if you have the studies, you have the facts, you have the research, I don't see, and you continue to do those studies and the facts and research to make sure you're up with the latest every decade that goes by. If things change and you guys find a new, something in whatever you're researching, I don't understand why that can't be conducted. Why?
Well,
just like what you said, bringing all your organizations together. That way you guys are strong and you guys are able to have the power to go against something like Children's Mercy, who's they're united in numbers as well. How many, hospitals they have, the amount of people that work there, the amount of influence they have, the networking they have within the city. It's like the only way to combat that is to be able to have that same type of power and same structure. So I totally get that. But thank you guys again, Sarah and Boxxy, for coming on and sharing your story. You guys are welcomed on anytime. If you guys have anything new, feel free to reach out. And I really hope to see more content, from you guys, even both. Maybe this is a start. I know you're a little hesitant to come on.
I'm always like, do you want to get in this TikTok? Do you want to do TikTok with me?
I think you did a great job weighing in from your side as well.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And being able to see through I know a lot of the information that's what you deal with and did great on as well. But yeah, maybe there's something you guys could do together to be able to weigh in and be able to give both your guys a story. That'd be pretty neat. So, but so whenever you guys just definitely holler at me and we'll have you back on for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.